Guys, welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. As you know, my good friend Jason Hairston, the founder of KUIU Ultralight Hunting, has passed away within a matter of days ago. And the whole hunting community is in shock. All his family and friends obviously are in shock, and we're just so distraught about the tragedy that's happened. And I've tried on my Instagram account some of the hunts that I was on with Jason. I have tried to bring out some of those videos where people could see the guy that he was, and just try and shed light on some of the things that he accomplished and that he did. And I had got to thinking, I had done a bunch of podcasts with Jason, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and find some of the better podcasts that I did with Jason, and I'm going to bring them back to you. And I think I've been listening to them myself, and I've gotten a lot of value out of them. And I've been able to reminisce about Jason and the guy that he was and the passion that he had for the hunting business. And I just think a lot of people are going to get a lot of value out of listening to what he had to say, whether you're building a business, whether you're hunting, whether you're, whatever you're doing. I think there's lots of great tidbits throughout these podcasts. So, guys, on Instagram, I love the hashtag KUIU Strong. And I also, Jason's family has asked, in lieu of flowers or anything like that, to donate to the CTE studies and foundation. They're studying the effects of CTE, and I'm going to put a link for that in these show notes. And to all of Jason's, to the whole KUIU Nation, to Jason's family and friends, this is a very, very difficult time, and I thought one of the best ways to highlight some of the things that Jason has done is to bring back his own voice and to replay some of these podcast episodes. So it's going to be tough to listen to, but I think in listening to all of these, I've just gotten a new appreciation for some of the things that he stood for and what have you. I want to thank you guys, the listeners, for this podcast, your loyalty to this podcast. And I also want to thank the sponsors of this podcast. Obviously, KUIU, Ultralight Hunting, KUIU.com. Jason Hairston and his whole crew over there at KUIU has been a sponsor of my podcast for many years now. And I want to thank them for their sponsorship. And I want to let you guys know that Jason surrounded himself with a great team. And he's got a great staff over at KUIU. And yes, losing the founder, losing the president, Jason was a huge part of the success at KUIU, but he does have a phenomenal team. The team is rallying. I was over there for the funeral and was able to talk with a lot of the employees and a lot of the staff at KUIU, and they are rallying. They are going to help Jason's legacy live on, and I think they're going to do a phenomenal job. So I appreciate all of you guys' support, the KUIU Nation support of KUIU, and I want to thank KUIU for their sponsorship of the podcast. You can go to KUIU.com and check out all of the different products there. And I also want to thank GoHunt.com. Cody Nelson, who is the glassing guru and the optics authority, is the new optics manager at GoHunt.com Gear Shop. You can call Cody directly for info sales at 702-847-8747, extension 2, or email Cody at optics, OPTICS, at GoHunt.com. Cody has promised me that he's going to take care of the J. Scott Outdoors listeners, so make sure to give Cody a call if you have any optics needs, whether it's spotting scopes, binoculars, rifle scopes, tripods, etc. Also, Canyon Coolers. Use the J. Scott promo code to get a 10% off all Canyon Coolers products. Go to canyoncoolers.com. Canyoncoolers.com. Use the J. Scott promo code to get 10% off all orders. Guys, let's get right to these episodes, and I appreciate your support. Welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. Today is going to be a fun episode. I've got Jason Hairston, the founder of KUIU Ultralight Hunting, on the line, and I also have the brothers Travis and Brad Wiest from Texas on the line, and Travis and Brad own the Natural Caverns in San Antonio, Texas, just outside of San Antonio, and I became acquainted with Travis last year on a desert bighorn sheep hunt in Arizona. Travis had drawn a tag in Unit 15D, and Travis and Brad are both big hunters, but they're big archery hunters, and Travis wanted to do the hunt with his bow, and he came out and got a nice 10-year-old ram with his bow, and we had a great time. Brad was able to come and join us on the hunt, and everything went great, and I was actually invited to go to the Wiest farm this spring and get to see the cavern and the cave and the ranch. And got to hunt some turkeys and saw a bunch of hogs. It was just a great time. And today we are going to have a podcast. Brad and Travis are actually going to Arctic Red River on a combo hunt, and for Dall sheep, mountain caribou, and moose. And they are KUIU. They are KUIU junkies like myself. And they had some questions about some of the gear, and they haven't been to Arctic Red River, and Jason, the founder of KUIU, had, and I thought it would make a great podcast to get everybody together so that the Wiest brothers could talk to someone that's been there and done that. And so we're going to have a great podcast. Guys, I'll let you take it from here, and I'll try and fill in where I can. Jason, first and foremost, how are you doing? It seems like you've been real busy as of late, like always, and there's a lot of new KUIU gear coming out. Maybe you start out by just tell me how things are going at KUIU Ultralight Hunting.
Jay, things are great. We've had a great first half of 2017. Sales and customers continue to support this brand are just fantastic. We're not just growing here in the United States, but internationally as well. We've got some exciting new stuff happening. Last month with the launch of our new mobile showroom, which has had just an amazing response to the first 3 cities we hit. We were just in Seattle last weekend, and the line to get in the truck for 3 straight days. It was just so amazing to see the response to it and see everybody's reaction to the truck and be able to see and touch and feel our product in person. For those that have never made it to a trade show or to our store, it's been a great experience. It was beyond what we anticipated as far as the response and the reaction of our customers, and we're just thrilled with that. And then we launch our new international website that'll cover Canada and shipments into Europe later this month. And that's something that we've been working on for a long time. We want to service those customers in those markets in a much better way. And so our products will be able to get to customers in Europe in 3 to 5 days with localized returns and exchanges, and allow more people in those countries to experience KUIU, which is something I'm really excited about. So all those initiatives and all those things we've been working on have kept me running at 1,000,000 miles an hour, but it's what I love and never feels like work.
Yeah, I've been following the KUIU World Tour and seeing the pictures on Instagram and talked to Brendan a little bit. He just said it's just been a phenomenal response. And one question I would have for you before we get into the podcast, in regards to the mobile showroom, as far as I understand, every piece of KUIU gear in every size is on the truck. So in other words, anybody that is interested in coming out, they're going to be able to touch it, feel it, try on, and see exactly what size they are. But every it's not like it's half of what you have. Every piece of gear you have is there.
It is, and we can help put together a skin-to-shell layering system. You can try it all on. We can put you in our packs. We have weight. You can test out our packs in a full system. I mean, get you totally dialed for any upcoming hunt you may have right there in person. And then we just fill out an order form. It ships to you the following week. It's a great way for people who haven't experienced our products or haven't seen everything that we make and be able to touch and feel and try it on, including like the tents and sleeping bags and the new boot line. It's a great chance for people to to get in and feel it and test our products.
I know you and I have talked before,
So,
Jason. I know we've talked before about one of the issues with going directly to the consumer is without having, retail spaces where people could do that other than, say, SCI convention and some of the, wild sheep shows and some of that. I thought it was
the store here. Yeah.
It's
the toughest side of our business for people.
Yeah, and so by going to them direct with the mobile showroom, it's just a phenomenal idea, and I think it's just another thing of you guys putting your foot forward to be customer first,
It's exactly what I did. A better way to serve our customer, to give them a better experience, and it gives us the flexibility and mobility that opening actual physical retail stores, which is something we're considering as well, doesn't do, is get the product out to multiple markets and allow more people to see and experience and feel our products. As you've seen at the trade shows, somebody that's never seen our products in person or hasn't become a KUIU customer, when they do see our product line, they're able to feel our fabrics, they're able to look at our carbon fiber pack frames and feel how light our packs are, or tents, whatever it is that we make. They see the difference instantly and they become a customer. So it's just giving that experience to more people is the goal with it.
For sure. I know you've got some hunts that you're training for right now, and I'm sure the guys are going to be asking you questions. But for the listeners out there, what do you have going on here for hunts coming up?
Well, the one that's got my attention right now is an upcoming stone sheep hunt up with Art Thompson up at Gundahoo in northern BC, and I've got the joy to take Donald Trump Jr. with me on that hunt. So it'll be the two of us hunting together. Brendan's going to come to assist. And so that's going to be an interesting hunting with Junior. We're good friends, and it's a trip we planned a couple years ago to hunt. He's never hunted stone sheep before. So it'll be fun to spend time with him in the mountains versus in New York or previously on the campaign trail. So I'm looking forward to it. I know he is too.
Yeah, I'll bet that's going to be a fantastic hunt. I can't wait to see. Obviously, you guys will be taking your normal phenomenal photos, and will the hunt be videoed as well?
We will. We will bring camera. We don't bring an actual video cameraman on this trip, but we will have a video camera with us, and we're going to trade off self-shooting it. Brendan and I are.
Cool.
So, yeah, we'll have video footage, and Paul Bride will be there to shoot all his amazing imagery that he always does. So looking forward to it.
Cool.
So, Travis, Brad.
Yeah.
How you guys doing?
And we're doing great. It's starting to feel like summertime here in Texas, so we're looking forward to the Northwest Territories, McKenzie Mountains weather that we'll get to experience in September.
Careful what you ask for.
Well, yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah, we may get that in spades, right? So
you'll see it all that time of year.
Man, well, we're looking forward to picking your brain on that and on gear selection for it. But man, just a little intro to us, Jason. And first of all, man, we really appreciate the opportunity to get to visit with you and Jay. Thanks for making this happen.
My absolute pleasure, guys. I mean, this is one of my favorite things to do is to working with our customers to get them set up for a trip and make sure that they maximize their experience while they're there.
Well, it's awesome that you take the time to do that, with your customers. That's really cool. But so Travis and I, Jay had mentioned that Natural Bridge Caverns down here in Texas is our family business. So Travis and I are cavemen, actually, and we're third generation managers of our family business, and the cavern was discovered on our family's ranch, and our family has been on the land since 1883. So Travis and I are the fifth generation owners, and we still ranch it to this day. Travis and I have been hunting all of our lives. We grew up hunting with our dad and hunting together. I think Jason, kind of like you. I think you started out hunting with your dad and your brother, and so it's been a family tradition, kind of a family thing for he and I, and we're already introducing our children into hunting, and they're crazy about it, as we are. Travis and I started out primarily rifle hunting, whitetail in Texas, and then just kind of branched out from there. We've been really hardcore bow hunters for, gosh, probably over 20 years now, and have hunted and taken tons of whitetail and hogs, and what's traditional in Texas. We've bow hunted mule deer. We're just diehard elk hunters. Love elk hunting so much that we bought a ranch in Colorado, and we've got phenomenal elk hunting at that place, and love that. We've hunted in Africa, South Africa. I've been to Tanzania. And Travis and I, we've been to Alaska, moose and grizz hunting, and I was fortunate to take a grizzly with my bow on that trip. I've done some grizz hunting in British Columbia, and so we've hunted a lot. We've got a lot of hunting experience. We have a lot of experience spot and stalk and harvesting animals with gun or with a bow. We've done a lot of do-it-yourself hunts, and it really hasn't been until kind of later in our hunting careers that we started, taking the opportunity to go on some guided hunts and be with guides. And so as far as our experience backcountry hunting, it's Travis and I both kind of consider ourselves rookies on that. I've done a few.
Total rookie.
Travis is total rookie. So just real quick, Jason, I've been on 2 backpack hunts in BC for grizzly, and the longest time we were out was 4 days. And that trip we had planned on being out longer, but my guide, who probably weighs 140 pounds soaking wet, he's just was bone and muscle, and when he did the calorie calculations, he didn't quite get the calories calculated right for my 6'2", at that time probably 210 pounds, and so we came off the mountain starving. But so I've done a little bit of backpack hunting, and but nothing extensive like what Travis and I are about to experience up there in the Mackenzies with Arctic Red. Travis really did most all the work, organizing, researching and lining up the hunt, and he's really awesome at doing that. We are going to be hunting from where our trip is 20 days of hunting, and we'll be up there September the 8th through the 27th. And so, Tavis he's told us that the daytime temps could range from 50 to 60, and nighttime could be 15 degrees to 30 degrees. But we know how it is in the mountains, and things can change. You never know what you're going to get served up.
They're guaranteed to change.
Yeah, yeah, right.
One thing you can count on this trip and those dates.
Okay, yeah, well, that's what we were thinking, and so we didn't want to cover things that you guys have done on other podcasts, and we've watched your videos and Brennan's too, and so we didn't want to ask the exact same things, but we know that just by being there at a different time of year can mean that you'd probably make different choices in your preparation and your gear selection, and so we thought that it would be real pertinent to just get your advice on all of these things, for our trip, for when we're going to be there and what we're going to be experiencing. Tavis did tell us that we would probably change locations.
Once. I imagine.
Yeah, maybe twice on the hunt, and he said we could even have like a moose bag packed if we wanted to have some different stuff they would drop to us, or whenever we change locations going, from hunting Dall sheep first, we could switch out some gear if we needed to, if conditions warranted.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So we were, really kind of starting out hoping to, it's awesome that you've been up there and hunted in those mountains, and so we want to, want to hear about your experiences there, and then how the location and the time of year can affect your choices, and then just something else to mention. Travis and I are brothers. We love hunting together. We as you know how this hunt goes, we're pretty much travel buddies, traveling up there and back, and then while we're out hunting, we'll be going off our separate ways with our guides and maybe a couple ridges over, but still it's just awesome to be able to go up and be in such a remote, incredible, beautiful place, out there, and testing our abilities, pushing our bodies to the limit, and enduring the elements, and we love doing that in pursuit of incredible animals, and just feel like it brings us closer to God. So we're really, really looking forward to it.
Well, Travis, I'm glad to see you're breaking yourself into backpack hunting with a starter hunt up in Arctic Red for 21 days.
Yeah, Jason, it's I'm either going to come back absolutely loving it, or I may never go again. But I really think it's going to be the first. So I'm pretty confident that I'm gonna just absolutely love it. I can't wait to find out what the answer to that question is going to be.
As I tell customers that come into our store, or I talk to on the phone, that haven't been on a sheep hunt before, especially like a backpack style hunt like this will be, there's not a lot of middle ground on it. You'll either in 3 days decide whether this is something that you want to do the rest of your life, and it's all you can think about and it consumes you every day, or you'll never want to go again. There's not a lot of middle ground on backpack sheep hunting up north that are in tough conditions like this. If you like the suffering, you can appreciate a lot of hard work and what that feeling is like after you accomplish your goal. There's nothing that will come close to it. You guys will be that country up there, and the sheep and that area is second to none. It's absolutely amazing.
I'm so excited to find out if I love it or hate it.
Well, it sounds like from your hunting experience and how much you guys are devoted and committed to hunting that you guys will love it. There's nothing like it.
So.
You brought up some good points. I mean, that trip being a 21-day trip, the dates that you'll be up there, you're going to have a wide range of conditions. You'll watch it go from fall into the start of winter in those dates, because that area is the farthest north territory in the Mackenzie Mountains to hunt. So you're just below the Arctic Circle. So you're going to see a lot of beautiful changes that time of year, from, like I said, from fall into the start of winter as you finish up your hunt. And you're going to be able to see a lot of movement of game. You're going to see a lot of things happening up there with the moose rut, with the caribou migration, and the movement of sheep out of the high country to the lower country, which creates a lot of opportunities. And I know in talking to Tavis in the past about that particular hunt and those dates, it's a great opportunity to find animals that they haven't found during the summer that they just never located. And they've had the chance to kill some really big sheep that time of year, and obviously some giant caribou and moose as well. They've got some tremendous moose hunting up there, and they just don't hunt moose. They've got a huge area, and they just don't harvest a lot of moose out of there. So the chance to kill something big and old is in all species is really there for you guys. And that's just that's a hunt I've considered doing on several occasions. I just never have gotten to a point where I could take off 21 days to go do it yet, but it's kind of on my list. So
our wives are not happy about it, Jason.
You never know. They may be thrilled. They're just acting like they're disappointed. But I think what Tavis is mentioning about separating out gear for your moose hunt, separate from your sheep hunt, makes sense, because you're going to be up in the high country for sheep. You're also going to find the caribou, at the same elevations you're finding sheep. You can also find them in lower elevations down in the valley bottoms, but in the same area as you're hunting sheep, you'll probably end up shooting your caribou as well, typically, unless you don't find one to shoot, or if you've had early weather that's pushed them down, which you'll catch them on their migration routes. But you're going to have the ability to hunt them either way. I would imagine they're going to put you on sheep to begin with, because that's going to be the toughest species to harvest, and you're going to want to spend the most amount of time, hunting sheep and making sure you get a ram before you go down and hunt. And then if you have the chance to kill a caribou in the area with the sheep, that's just a bonus. And then I would imagine they'll move you down into the area where the moose will be, and you'll probably catch caribou migrating through there as well, from my experience up there. I've been up there 4 times, and it's incredible country. It's really huntable country, and the way the mountains are set up, there's some steep mountains, but the elevation climbs from the valley bottoms to the peaks aren't undoable. And the valley bottoms, what's great about that area of the Mackenzies is there's not a lot of brush and alders. You won't see Devil's Club or experience the stuff you've experienced in BC or even Alaska. It's really huntable stuff. You can move through that country pretty easily in consideration of other areas you can hunt sheep in that you'll find in other locations. That's one of the great things about the Mackenzies, is the terrain and then the latitude. It's so far north that there's just not a lot of, you don't have to deal with the brush and the alders like you do in other areas further south.
Nice, that's great.
Yeah, and so for the sheep portion of your hunt, you guys are really going to want to focus on being really smart about what you pack, and putting together a comprehensive gear list for your sheep portion of your hunt. One of the things that I always recommend is building a gear list, and we have examples we can email to you. But the goal with the gear list is to make sure you have everything you need in your pack, obviously. But what I think is even more important is make sure you don't have anything you don't need, and you don't overpack, and really focus on keeping that pack weight down, because you could be walking 10 to 12 hours a day in that country. And every ounce, every pound, day in and day out adds up. And so a gear list will keep you from overpacking, and you, in that country, that time of year, you'll be surprised at how little amount of gear you really need if you bring the right stuff. And you have a comprehensive layering system put together that will cover a range of conditions. And but you'll as I've seen with customers, or I've seen people at Norman Wells, which is the city you'll base out of before you fly into base camp, and going through people's packs for them. Most people overpack. They think it's going to be really cold, or they think they just need a lot more gear than they actually need in that country, because they just have this vision of everything frozen, everything super cold, and they end up bringing way too much product, and that just weighs you down, fills up your pack, and makes the hunt difficult before you even step into the mountains. And so what I'd really try to focus on is a narrow gear list, using products that can have multi-purposes within your system, and that allows you to kind of really focus on reducing the whole kit weight and the amount of kit that you'll have in your packs. And so, I mean, for me on that northern hunt, obviously you're going to want to have great base layers to choose from, either a synthetic or a wool. It depends on what you prefer and what you're used to. I don't. Are you guys have our base layers?
Yeah, Jason. I didn't mention this earlier, but we've been fans of your gear from when you founded Sitka. Travis and I bought Sitka gear that very first year it came out, and wore it on a Quebec caribou hunt, and then wore that for years. And then we were customers the very first year that you rolled out KUIU, and so we have been, literally Travis and I almost own every piece you have. I mean, there's a few we don't, but we're kind of addicted to it now. But we've been using your gear, and we've been hunting hard in it for a long time. So yeah, we got a lot of experience.
I never understood how my wife could be so giddy about clothes until like KUIU came. Then all of a sudden, like now I get a package in the mail, and she's like, you're like a little kid, and I'm like, I know, it's terrible.
Thanks, you guys. I love hearing that.
Yeah, I know. But so hey, Jason, we've got a comprehensive gear list, and we've got a comprehensive list of questions for you too about it. So
great. Maybe start there. Where'd you get the gear list from?
Well, I've done a lot of research, and we've been planning this trip for years, and I booked it 2 years ago, and so I got a gear list from you guys, And I've researched gear lists on the internet. I've been a Hunting Fool member for a long, long time. I've got Garth Carter's gear list that he used, and I've looked at other gear lists and articles that they've come up with, and guys like Brian Martin and other folks. And so just, kind of wherever I could, I've just kind of looked at a lot of stuff and done a lot of research. And so, but before we jump into the gear list, so I wanted to ask you about hunt prep and training.
Great.
If that's okay.
Please.
Yeah. So how do you, I want to talk for a minute how you train and prepare for your hunts, and and then I'm curious, have you ever been on a hunt that you felt like you weren't prepared enough for?
I have. Yeah, absolutely have. How old are you guys? You don't mind me asking?
I'm 40 and Brad's 44.
Okay. Yeah, so we're similar age range. I'm 45.
Okay. Yeah.
And I have, and training for me has changed over the years. When I was younger, as you guys have probably experienced, it didn't take as much to train in advance of a hunt as it does today. And the style and type of training I've had to continue to evolve as I've gotten older, and really what I've had to go to is more focused training around actually training for a backpack hunt, using a pack and weight in advance, and really working on the biomechanics and the muscle groups that a carrying a pack with weight will require on a hunt. When I was younger, I used to just come in good enough shape and throw a pack on and go 10 days, and it really wasn't as important as it is today. And for me, training is a year-round event for me, and it changes throughout the year. My goal is to come into a hunt and peak for that hunt, like a cyclist would do for a Tour de France. And if you study cycling and training for cycling like I have, you realize that you can't just be in tip-top shape year-round, or you'll burn yourself out, and your system won't respond when it needs to for a big event. So my training's focused for August every year. And, I go through the off-season of continuing a cardio base coming out of season, but cutting it back, getting more back into strength training through the winter time. And then as I get into the spring, start to layer in more cardio workouts. That includes running on a treadmill, trail running, and also some weight training 3 to 4 days a week to continue to keep my strength. And then as I'm coming into this time of year, I'm less than 60 days out of my sheep hunt. My cardio training continues to increase. I do interval training 1 day to 2 days a week on a treadmill, on a hill workout that I do on the treadmill or outside. Yeah. And then from about 60 days out, which I started doing back towards the end of May, I start training with a pack and weight. And I don't advise training with a pack and weight year-round because it's just hard on your joints over time. But within 60 days of your hunt, I recommend starting to train with a pack and weight. And you can do that on a treadmill to build your base, but really you need to get outside in your boots, and I'll start with 50 pounds and work my way up to 90 pounds before I go on the hunt to really overload my legs with the heavier weights towards the end, so that when I get in my 50 pound pack, it feels light. And and that just gives you really kind of just a mental advantage too when you throw on your pack and it seems light compared to what you've been training with prior to the hunt. Yeah. But I'll spend during the week. I'll spend an hour. Try to get at least a couple hours of pack with weight training on either a treadmill or outside, and then on the weekends, I'll try to set up back to back, or even like on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 3 days in a row with heavy pack training, and trying to get 2 to 3 hours in with a heavy pack on 3 consecutive days, try to mimic 3 hard days in the mountains. And then I'll recover on Monday. Back on Tuesday, I'll do an interval workout with a pack on the treadmill, and then spend another interval day on Thursday with a pack with weight on, and then some easier days with packs and weights on the treadmill, but then back in on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with some longer events back to back, so your legs aren't recovered when you're going to the next day. Okay. And then about a week before the hunt, I'll taper back down, let my muscles recover, let my legs and joints recover, and then I'm ready to go on the hunt. So and as I get closer, I'm increasing weight. each week. I'll throw another 10 pounds of.
Your back down period is pretty much just a week then? In that week, are you doing anything?
Yeah, I'll do a couple easy cardio days without any pack weight, just to get my heart rate up and to sweat. I found that better for me. I've taken just a complete week off and then go into the hunt, and it kind of knocks my system because you had so much rest going into it. And you'll see on the travel to get up there, you don't have a lot of activity. You're sitting around a lot. Mm-hmm. I found a day or two within that week, not hard, just to get your heart rate up and break a sweat, maybe an hour of cardio on an elliptical or on a Stairmaster, just to keep your system used to the cardio workout, but nothing hard. And then I'm better doing that than taking a week off prior to and having no activity.
Okay, gotcha.
Do you do any kind of carb loading prior to leaving for the trip?
Yeah, I'll ramp up on my carbs. I'll ramp up on my fats. I think fats are more important than carbs, personally.
Okay.
So I eat,
why, Jason?
a lot of red. Oh, carbs will burn. Fat you'll store, and it has higher calories. And you want to try to load up on those, last couple of weeks before the hunt. I'll try to put on weight before the hunt because you're going to take it back off. Any fat stores you can get. You just want to juice your system with fats and carbs prior to going in, and I think fats are now more important than carbs, and the research kind of points in that direction too.
Jason, how much weight do you typically lose on a hunt like this?
It'll kind of depend on how in shape you are going into it, but you can lose a pound a day.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, 21 days, will you lose 21 pounds? Probably not. Your system will kind of start to get used to it. But initially, you can lose a pound a day very easily. I mean, if you think about, for me, if I'm training for an hour, I'll burn over 1,000 calories. And you times that by a 10 or 12-hour day. And you can just start to run the math on your calorie deficit. And there's just no way you're not going to lose a pound a day. I know people that have gone in that aren't in great shape that can lose 2 pounds a day.
Yeah, okay. Gotcha.
Wow.
Huh.
So for those guys, that could be like 40 pounds.
Well, your body will, on a shorter hunt, you can lose, like on a 10-day hunt, you can lose, I know guys that lost 20 pounds.
Wow.
But on a longer hunt, your system will start to get used to it.
Yeah.
When you guys get down and start hunting the moose and potentially the caribou, that hunt won't be as difficult as hunting the sheep. And your calorie burn will be a bit less. You'll get better food when you're probably hunting for moose. They'll do a food drop for you or several food drops. And you'll be able to cook better food down in those areas. When you're up sheep hunting, you're living on a dehydrated food and just kind of snacking throughout the day in between those meals, and that's where you'll really lose the weight.
Yeah, I got you.
And then the other key thing for me for training is not only getting your legs in shape, but getting your feet in shape. And a lot of guys don't talk about that, but spending time in your boots and going outside and training in uneven terrain, purposely finding areas you can side hill in your boots with heavy pack weight. And I also will my goal is to actually blister my feet, and I can do that through training in the middle of the day in hot weather with a heavy pack. And you throw your boots on, you throw your pack on and train in the heat. The heat will also increase your cardiovascular training as well because it makes it, obviously much harder on your system. And any way you can, my goal is to make my training harder than my hunt. And you obviously can't spend 10 hours, 12 hours a day training. So I try to maximize the intensity and the difficulty of my training in shorter periods. So heavier weights, walk faster than I normally would, do it in the middle of the day in the heat of the day, walk in uneven terrain. And the uneven terrain and the heat will blister your feet during training, which will build your calluses over time. And so you don't have any concerns about blisters in the mountains by doing that. It sounds kind of barbaric. My wife always looks at me every year and goes, Jesus, look at your feet. And, but it gives me that insurance that I don't have to worry about it when I'm there, which I've seen guys lose days of a hunt because their feet are so blistered.
Yeah.
You're just in uneven terrain. Your feet are going to be sweating. They're going to get wet. And, that can lead to blisters.
Jason, you go to the point where you actually, when you say blistering your feet, do you go to the point where okay, I'm about to develop blisters or do you take it all the way until you rub? I mean, you know.
I've gone. I'll take if I'm going on a 3-hour hike that day and I'm starting to get blisters, I just keep going.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know a lot of people that do this. People think I'm crazy about it, but yeah, I'll come back from a 3-hour hike in the heat, and I'll have blisters on my toes and the back of my heels. And it's weird; it doesn't happen, you know, in if I go train in the morning or when it's cooler. It happens with heat, and I think it's your feet swell; they get really sweaty, and they'll end up blistering. And you know, even with boots that are well broken in, that'll happen to me every year.
Really? Okay. Huh.
Mm-hmm. Jason,
you brought up a good subject. What do you do to deal with blisters if you get one, you know, on a trip?
I don't get them because I get them before and then callus.
Okay.
I don't have to deal with them, right? And that's why I do it. You know, what I've done in the past is duct tape. It's about the only thing I can find that will stay on for a period of time, because the blister care stuff they have out there, when you put your feet in those boots and you're getting that sweaty and covering that many miles, it ends up just balling up and coming off, and then it can actually be a pain in your butt because it's down in your boots and you got to pull your boots off and your gaiters off. So,
Jason, I do have one question. Was it you that said that you sometimes just soak your boots and go out with wet boots and wet socks and do that?
Yep, I will. If I'm breaking in a new pair of boots, I do that. I'll soak the boot, soak my socks, throw it on, lace them down, and hike in them. It'll stretch the boot a little bit. It also, I mean, that's the easiest way to get blisters. Wet feet, wet boots.
Yeah.
And just part of breaking in my boots, my socks, my feet prior to the hunt.
Yeah. I'm guessing this is probably done many, many months in advance of the trip.
I'll do it. So my trip is in August. This weekend is the first weekend I'll go blister my feet. So, and then I'll do it again the following week. Usually it takes 2 or 3 hikes like that, and then then it doesn't happen any longer.
And will you pop those blisters, Jason, or will you just let them blister and leave them?
If they're clear, I leave them. If they're bloody, I pop them.
Okay. Oh.
And then if they're if they're clear and they just get really big, sometimes I'll pop them over after a period of time. But I let them heal that way first, and then I'll pop them. Usually they just kind of go down on their own. Yeah.
Well, good news, Travis. We got enough time to start getting some blisters before our hunt.
Yeah, I'm scratching my head on this advice here. I'm not sure about that one, but
Well, you can wait and deal with it in the mountains. I mean, if you're going to deal with them, I'd rather get it over with.
I'm going to listen, but man, it's crazy.
That's a good point. Good point. Hey, Jason, let me switch gears and talk to you about food. So, you know, Tavis has told us that, you know, they will provide all the food for us, but, you know, we've listened to your videos and watched your, you know, food packing list, and it seems like you typically prefer to take your own food. When you've hunted with Arctic Red, have you used their food, or have you taken your own?
I always bring my own food everywhere I go. And I do it for a couple reasons. First of all, I know what my body likes and what it's used to, and I'm always experimenting in the off season with different choices of food. Mm-hmm. One of the things you got to think about is you're going to go into the biggest cardiovascular event of your lifetimes. Okay. And you're going to rely on somebody else to provide you food that your system may or may not like during that event. And I know a lot of people that don't feel good on those hunts, that the food that's provided, they don't really care for. And if you don't like the food or love the choices of food when you start the hunt, you're going to hate it 5 days in when you're just totally maxed out because of the challenge, physical challenges of the hunt. And you'll get to the point where food doesn't even taste good, doesn't sound good, because you're just so exhausted. And you almost have to kind of force yourself to eat. And if you don't like what they offer to you, and there's some food that turns your stomach or makes your stomach upset, which happens, then it's a really big challenge. I mean, it's just a variable I like to take out as an option that may impact how I feel on the hunt by packing my own food. The other thing is the guides will not know how much you guys like to eat. They won't know how much food to bring, and the last thing they want to do is have the experience like you had, where they don't bring enough. So typically they're going to overpack.
Okay.
To be careful, right? They're going to go on the overpack side, and they're going to hand you a food bag that's going to weigh, if you're going in for 10 days, it could weigh 30 pounds. Where I pack for 10 days, I know I need 2 pounds of food a day, and my pack load is going to be 20 pounds, and it's going to be broken out into each meal. I'm going to have exactly what I know I need and exactly what I know I like to eat and what my body's used to, because I eat it on a regular basis. And I've gotten away from bringing power bars or just Cliff bars like I've done in the past, and gone more to like regular types of foods, bagels and peanut butter, and more whole foods than just bars or candy bars, which they'll typically pack, because the sugar over time just gets, your stomach gets tired of it, doesn't respond to it well. And what I found is by packing my own food and bringing more normal types of food, that my body just responds better to it. I feel better. And a big key to this thing is the mental aspect of the trip. It's going in totally prepared physically with the right equipment and gear, and then so many people forget about the food aspect and nutrition during that event. And it's as important as anything. And I just don't like to risk it on the guides being able to provide what I like.
Yeah.
They won't. And they're going to overpack it.
Yep, gotcha.
You'd recommend that we test different foods to kind of find out what backcountry type foods, find out what we like. You have a great food video on your website, Jason. Brad and I both watched it, and it's really good and very helpful.
Thank you. Yeah, that's years and years and years of working on food, and I'm always working on my menu and looking at calorie counts, calorie per ounces, maximizing the fats and the calories per ounce on food to try to maximize how many calories I can get out of 2 pounds is kind of the goal, right, every year.
Yeah.
So that video will give you a lot of insight to how I pack and what I bring, and what's worked for me in the past, and how I've refined that over 3 decades of backpack hunting.
Yeah. Well, it makes a lot of sense, Jason. And if we were just going to be out for 5 days, you can pretty much kind of tough through eating whatever. But as long as Travis and I are going to be out in the mountains, that's we can get really tired of what the guides provide, and it's really important that we have the right amount of calories and things be as perfect as can be. So
yeah, absolutely. I would recommend maybe for that long of a trip, you pack for. I would do your own food for the sheep portion of that hunt, and the moose portion of the hunt. They're going to fly in good food. You're not going to be as remote as you are for the sheep. And when they move you, I'm sure they're going to load you up with food, and you probably won't be moving that much where you're moose hunting, just because you got to get the moose out. And you probably would be fine with what they provide you for that portion of your hunt. But for the sheep portion, I would definitely recommend bringing your own food if you guys are up for putting the menu together.
Yeah, that sounds great. Sounds like great advice.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, and then if that's maybe we just have to take our own food for 10 days or not the entire time. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Bring a 10 to 12 day, your own food for 10 to 12 days of the hunt for the sheep.
Yeah, that makes sense. What about supplements, Jason? So I think on your video you take a hydrate and recover, and Travis and I are big fans of we like the Wilderness Athlete products. We use the multivitamins and the hydrate and recovers and all that stuff. Do you just take one hydrate and recover per day? And do you take multivitamins with you? What supplements and stuff like that do you take on a hunt?
Yeah, I'll bring my multivitamins, and I'll take those in the morning. I bring a hydrate and recover, and I'll drink that at night before I go to sleep. And I just bring one per day. You might bring 2, just depending on how much of that you like to drink. I don't put it in my hydration bladder for the day because it makes it hard to clean out, but I'll bring a hydrate and recover, and I'll drink that at night after or with my meal.
Yeah. Well, from experience, I typically will get cramps my first night, in the mountains at high altitude if I've really, been exerting myself hard that day, and I swear it's like that Hydrate and Recover it's a miracle drink for me for making cramps go away.
Yep, I have a tendency to cramp as well. I've always, through my athletic career and in hunting, I've dealt with that too, and it does help.
Yeah. What about water purification up there, Jason? When you went, did you take anything for water purification, or is the water okay up there?
When I hunt north, I never bring anything to filter water. If I'm hunting lower 48, I always filter my water. I've never had a problem up north, or needed to filter water. I've always been able to drink right out of the streams, and I had no issues.
Is that common?
That's me. It seems to be. I know some people that have gotten Giardia on northern trips, but I don't hear about it a lot, and I've never had the need to, or ever had that experience up there. I've never filtered. So it's kind of if it's something you're really, really worried about, you certainly could bring a filter. The guides won't have one because they don't ever need them up there, and I've never worried about it.
Yeah. Okay. Travis, I think Tavis told us that they don't worry about it, and his guides don't use it, so that matches
we
up.
have hundreds and if not thousands of customers that go on these types of trips, and I rarely hear about somebody getting Giardia up north.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
That's a huge weight savings right there. Not having to pack a bunch of water or pack filtration system.
Yeah.
There's water access to water is absolutely no problem up there.
Yep.
How much water would you carry? Like typically, would you carry your full hydration bottle, or would you carry it partially full since you could get water everywhere?
I just fill mine up in the morning, and I carry our 3 liter. And that way I don't have to stop to refill, and drop my pack and get it out of my pack. You certainly don't need to carry that much water. You will be crossing lots of rivers. One of the things I'd probably recommend is bringing like a Nalgene type of bottle and putting it in your side, somewhere that's easy to access off your pack. And it's typically what the guides will do. And then when they stop to stream, they'll fill it up and drink out of it. I just like to sip on hydration throughout the day, and then I'll bring a Nalgene bottle to drink out of at night, and then keep it in my side pouch in my pack. I can grab and fill out of a stream if I need to. And if you had a problem with your bladder, you've got another water container to use.
And you can use that then to mix your Hydrate and Recovers too.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. And try not to mix up your pee bottle with your drinking bottle.
Well, you only do that once. You hope.
Yeah.
Highly recommended pee bottle.
Yeah, I saw that on one of your videos, and I thought that was ingenious.
Yeah. So. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Actually, Paul Bride, my photographer, that's shot so much in the outdoor world and climbing and mountaineering, and he's the one that introduced me to the miracle of a pee bottle, not having to get out of your sleeping bag at night. And once you use one, you'll never go back to not going to the mountains with one. Especially in the middle of a storm.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, let's switch gears again, and I want to talk about shelters. This is another thing that, typically Arctic Red provides all the shelters. I know from watching your videos and also listening to Brendan, his podcast, you guys like to take your own shelters. I'm just curious. I think I know what you're going to say, but I kind of want to cover it anyway. Why you do that, and maybe you could talk about some of the pros and cons of using your own shelter versus depending on the guide for shelters. Obviously, I guess weight savings is being one of the main things that would be a pro in sharing a shelter. But could you just kind of touch on that subject for a little bit?
Yeah, I always bring my own tent, and a lot of the outfits up north, they're not going to be using tents that are as well made as ours or focused on weight reduction. That's kind of first and foremost. And then, you think about a tent that's used up north. Some of them will go, they'll use a tent for multiple years. So you don't know if it's going to leak. You don't know if it's got a problem. It could be a problem they didn't even know existed, but was created from the previous client, or something that happened on the previous hunt. And so you may end up with a tent that leaks. And like I said, some of the tents that I've seen that the outfitters are using aren't the most modern tents, or not the most expensive tents out there, because they go through so much gear on outfitting clients. And then for me, I like to have my own space. at night. I sleep better without somebody next to me, and having the ability to lay out my gear in my tent at night, let things dry, having my own space to move around and not worrying if I'm waking somebody up, and I just have a better experience having my own tent and sleeping in my own tent. And those are kind of the reasons why I always bring my own.
No, it makes total sense. And which tent do you select for what kind of trip? Maybe talk about how you select your tent, your shelter.
Sure. Yeah, for my sheep hunts up north, I'm typically bringing our Mountain Star. In the Northwest Territories, you probably don't need the Storm Star, although your late season hunt may be something to consider because of the snow. But as far as that particular tent, it's really storm worthy and can handle high winds. I've put it in some really terrible conditions and situations that it's withstood. So durability wise, even with snow loads, that 2-person Mountain Star we have is outstanding, and it's going to save you a little bit of weight versus our Storm Star. The only thing you'll run into with that tent is if you get snow, is spindrift blowing in through the internal mesh, and that's where the Storm Star, obviously it has a more robust pull system. It has some unique fabric in the X-Pack fabric in the seams for really terrible storm situations and heavy snow loads. But you shouldn't run into that in the Northwest Territories. I mean, the only thing you might get is some spindrift blown in, but you can just sweep out of your tent and get away with our Storm Star tent.
What is spindrift?
It's the light snow that the wind will pick up and blow, and it'll blow it. It can blow it underneath your vestibule and into your tent. And I've come back on trips and found 3 inches of snow in my tent because of spindrift blow. The Storm Star tent is designed with a layer of breathable fabric and mesh, so you can zip the breathable fabric up and it keeps the spindrift from coming inside of your tent.
Okay.
But I don't think, for that hunt, you guys will get snow on and off, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to want to and justify bringing the extra weight of a Storm Star tent, especially on your sheep hunts.
Okay, gotcha. Travis, we learned a new meaning of spindrift. See, Travis and I are also into long-range shooting, and so we know spindrift from long-range shooting, but not blowing snow.
Yeah. I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot more as this goes on. But so another. I was just curious, about bears on any of your trips up there, and Tavis had told Brad and I a story about a grizzly flipping him up on top of his brother inside a tent, that he ended up having to shoot that bear, that had come in there, and being that we're bow hunting and being that you're not allowed to pack a pistol into Canada, which really sucks. The only weapon I have is a sharp stick. I don't know, it made me a little nervous, being in my own tent in bear country, but not having a gun. But I don't know.
Yep.
Did you guys ever have any issues?
I personally haven't had issues there. I've seen quite a few bears there. One of the downsides to the Northwest Territories is there is no grizzly bear hunting, and so the bears aren't that afraid of people there. And there has been issues with the bears being really aggressive. There's been recent bear attacks of clients and guides getting killed in that country, and the bears have a tendency in that country to be more aggressive than other areas where they are hunted. And it's something to be very respectful of and be very careful if you get in and around a bear in that country. I know they've had to kill several bears over the years, Arctic red and other areas that other territories or guide territories in the Mackenzies. It's something you need to have a lot of respect for and to be thoughtful of, when you're butchering game, when you're traveling through that country. The guide will carry some sort of firearm to protect you guys against bears, but it's something to be mindful of when you're in that country, because it is a legitimate threat.
Yeah, would you suggest that we carry, Tavis mentioned that we could purchase bear spray from him at the headquarters there. Would you suggest we carry bear spray?
I would have something.
Yeah.
I mean, I would rather carry a 300, but at least I would, consider bringing bear spray at a minimum.
No, I would love to carry a rifle too, but I'm committed to shooting my game with my bow, and I'd hate the thought of carrying two weapons.
Sure, I get
like
that.
But, yeah.
Yeah, if he's got bear spray, I would definitely buy a bear spray from him and take it with you. At least you have something.
It's better than nothing. Yeah, yeah. We would much rather have a big gun as well. But yeah, like Travis said, we look at how much we've got some lightweight rifles, but still to think we'd be packing that only for bear protection, a lot of ounces.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely would recommend bear spray then.
Okay. All right. Cool.
At least it'll season you before he eats you.
Exactly. Yep. Then we'll taste kind of peppery to him, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's not spicy.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you about sleep systems now. So Tavis was recommending to Travis and I that for this time period, or that we should bring 0 degree bags, and we both have y'all's KUIU 0 degree bag. We've got the Thermarest Neo Air X-Lite pads, and I've used that on a number of hunts now, and I've really liked that pad. Does that match up? Like if you were going the same time we're going, would you choose the 0 degree bag, or would you do something different, Jason?
For the moose portion of your hunt, the later season hunt, absolutely. If I was sheep hunting, and since I have obviously lots of selection and choices of bags I can take, I would bring either a 30 or I actually probably on that trip bring a 15 degree bag for my sheep hunt and save a pound. But that's just because I don't have to spend the money to buy our different sleeping bags. If money is no object, you bring a 15 for your sheep hunt, and you bring a 0 degree for when you're doing moose hunts in the later portion of your hunt.
And just swap, have the 0 degree bag in our moose kit then. Yeah.
That may be something to think about. It just depends. If you're really trying to shave ounces for that sheep portion of your hunt, which I always do, then you bring a 15 and you bring a 0. Yeah.
Jason, when do you make the choice to go with a little bit higher, a warmer, or I guess the higher temperature rating sleeping bag, a 15 or a 30, but then be prepared to use your super down to sleep in as well to add added insulation?
So like on my August sheep hunt, I will bring a 30 and my super down jacket, or now I'll bring my super down ultra jacket and my super down ultra pant.
Yeah.
And that's just, that's obviously for sitting on ridges glassing, but I also sleep in that as well at night if it gets cold. And I'll end up, I've had trips where it's gotten really cold and I'm in a 30 degree bag. I'll put on not just super down, but, I'll start layering up my whole system. I've even slept in everything I've brought, including my rain gear, then got my sleeping bag. It's gotten so cold on a couple of different trips I've been on. But, one nice thing about sleeping your super down is easy to get out of the bag in the morning.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah.
And then when you one of the nice things you'll discover hunting up north, maybe you experienced this before in BC and Alaska when you guys have hunted up there, but you don't get up at daybreak and start hunting. You get up, you tend to sleep in. You get up, you have an hour or two to have breakfast and coffee in the morning, and then you pack up and start on your hunt because the days are longer. And that part of sheep hunting I actually really enjoy. And it's nice to be able to get up in the morning, you're in your super down, you throw on your boots, you go out and you have coffee, and then you don't have to get dressed in the morning. It's pretty convenient.
Yeah. Speaking of coffee, what's your favorite coffee to take into the backcountry?
I bring the Starbucks, those little Via Instants.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Gotcha.
If you don't like brown water, I recommend bringing those that you guys pack your own, because the instant coffee they will pack you isn't all that great if you like good coffee.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of a coffee snob now, so I want to have some good stuff.
Yep. Yeah. And those are great because 1 or 2 packets and you got a great cup of coffee, and you don't have to bring in grounds or anything else. It's kind of a guess on how much you need.
Yeah. Do you take your own stove or just use the guides?
I don't. I use the guides. No, I shouldn't say that. If Well, it depends where I'm hunting, and it depends if they have canister fuel. If I know they have got canister fuel at base camp, I'll bring my own little pocket rocket, keep in my pack, and then in the mornings, what's nice is, I'll roll over in my vestibule and start a cup of coffee. And I bring I bring a small aluminum mug with me, and then you roll over, you put your coffee on the stove, you turn on your stove, and it warms up the inside of the tent. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you have condensation in there, it'll help dry out the inside of the condensation of the tent.
Okay. Yeah. What
Avis does have canisters up there, so if you bring your own small stove, you could grab a canister from them. Yeah.
All right. And how long would one canister last you? How many days?
He uses the big ones, and so for me, how little I use it for just the mornings making coffee and sometimes breakfast if the guides aren't up before them, it'll last you. It'll last you a couple weeks.
Oh gosh. Okay. Yeah. Almost the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We're talking about if it's really cold, put stuff in your bag. Do you put your if your boots are a little bit damp at night, do you stick them in your sleeping bag, or do you leave them in your tent with you, or what do you do with
I usually leave my boots in the vestibule. You're not going to be able to dry your boots off, and put them in the bottom of your bag would just make a mess out of your bag. Yeah, I will put my wet socks, anything else in my bag to dry. It does help.
Okay.
Or sleep in it. If you got damp base layers, I'll just sleep in it and wake up, they'll be dry.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. What waterproof stuff sack works best for each of the bags?
Let me think about that. I think the large fits the 0, the medium fits the 15, and the small will fit the 30.
Okay.
Yeah, and those work great. They're designed to fit each different temperature-rated bag.
Okay, awesome.
And then everything I put in my pack is in a dry sack. So extra clothes, anything that you're going to be wearing, any type of apparel. I bring a separate stuff sack for my Super Down products, and those always will stay in my pack every day.
Okay.
Because it can save your life on the mountain. My rain gear I won't put into a stuff sack, obviously, but everything else, any extra spare clothes, any extra spare jackets, anything that you don't want to get wet, I put in there.
Okay. Yep.
So if you fall in a river or you don't get your rain cover on in time, your pack gets soaked, you don't have to worry about what's inside.
Yeah.
Or if you're making a stalk on something, you don't want to have that rain cover on and having it drag through brush.
Right. Yep. Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Great. Okay.
Yeah. We're gonna change gears again here, and I want to talk about optics real quick, and then we're gonna jump into the clothing and all the gear and kind of layer by layer. But first of all, on optics, I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are. I mean, just tell you what we're running, like the 10x42 HDR, the binos with the rangefinder in it, and they do the angle compensation for us, and we've done a good bit of shooting up and down steep slopes to test them to make sure that they work well with our bows, and they do. And so, is a 10x42 bino a good choice for the trip as far as binos?
It would be. Yeah, that's what I bring too. Except I use Swarovskis, and I use the laser rangefinder as well in theirs. It's a perfect choice. Yeah, going up any higher in power, it's just hard to keep them steady. I've tried 12s before to try to get some extra power, but you really need to be sitting down or having them on a tripod.
Okay, well, let's talk about that.
10 powers are great.
I love running my binos off a tripod, and I wanted to talk about spotting scopes, tripods. But what's your tip? I mean, your system. I saw when you on your pack out video, you had your binos, you had your spotting scope, you had a tripod. I didn't see something on there where you would have a attachment system for your binos to go on your tripod.
Yeah, when I'm using 10s, I don't. Now I may pull my tripod up and rest them on it and use it that way. Mm-hmm. Just depends on how you like to mount your binos to your tripod. Obviously you can do that. I've just found that with 10s, if I could just extend my tripod and rest them on there, it works fine for me, and I don't need the adapter. But that's kind of personal preference.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I'm using 10s, absolutely. Or if I'm using 12s or anything, or 15s, I absolutely use an adapter.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. So one of the dilemmas that I'm running through right now, Jason, is, knowing that I want to keep everything as light as I can. The idea of taking my own spinoscope and tripod, which I have a Swarovski 65 millimeter, and I've got a really nice, slick carbon fiber tripod, lightweight tripod system and stuff. And I really would. I know when I hunted with Jay for sheep this past year, I just can't imagine the thought of having done that hump without my own tripod and scope, because such a big part of the experience was glassing, like sitting there and actually like, oh, hey, there's some sheep. Okay, check out this. We get in the scopes. And I mean, obviously, if we're looking at, it's me or Jay that's going to look at it, and I've never seen a sheep in my life. I mean, I'm going to want Jay to tell me what he thinks of it. So it would have done me a lot of good to look at it, because I want to shoot pretty much everyone I saw, which Jay can certainly testify to.
But you liked having your own spotting scope, so we could, half of it was visual of the hunt, was half of the entertainment was watching the sheep too.
So yeah, so much of the experience of the hunt was actually watching it myself. I had a phone scope, and I was taking pictures and video, and it just, I can't imagine going back and doing that experience without having my own spotting scope and tripod. But on this one, I know it's going to be a lot more painful to pack it around than it was on that trip, because we were kind of like day hunting in and out from a base camp. And
it's a dilemma for sure. If it's Brennan and I hunting together, one of us will have a tripod and spotting scope. If I'm hunting just myself with a guide, I'll always have a tripod and spotting scope, just for the reasons you're saying. And some of the guides just don't have the money to spend on great optics. And so you might have a guy with an old beat-up Nikon spotting scope. He's used to it, but you got to look through it. It drives me nuts. I like having my own optics.
Well,
a 65 millimeter Swaro is what I'll bring on a backpack sheep hunt, versus like the 95.
You'll switch to 95 when?
No, versus like a 95, which I'll use on hunts that aren't 10-day or 12-day backpack sheep hunt. I'll use a 65 millimeter scope on those hunts, and it's plenty.
Okay. So one of my ideas was obviously to take my stuff and then just suggest to the guide that we just share my scope and tripod setup to save weight.
No, the guide will want to bring his own.
He will. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
but it's fine. It's nice to have your own. And I've had situations where I wasn't with the guide, where I spotted sheep and needed my spotting scope to identify them. And my second trip to Arctic Red, he was busy skinning a caribou I had just shot, and I went up on a knob and located a ram, and we ended up killing him the next day. And I hadn't had my spotting scope, I wouldn't have been able to decide how big he was or whether he was worth hunting the next day. I just like having it.
Yep.
And some days, some mornings you might get up before the guide, and you might see sheep or animals, and you want your spotting scope. I just like having it.
No,
I think it's absolutely worth the extra weight.
That's kind of the direction I was leaning to, and I just need to not be an ounce counting weenie too much here, and I can really take that. It sounds like some ounces that I really want to take.
It is. Yeah, I've never regretted bringing mine.
Okay. Yeah. Good to know. All right. So we're ready to get into the clothing, and I guess my first question for you, Jason, and I don't know, this one may not matter much, but just curious, for that area up there, that time of year, do you think the Vias or the Verde 2.0 is a better camouflage pattern?
Either are great choices.
Yep.
The Verde 2.0 is a little bit more versatile, especially if you're hunting moose down in that lower country, but honestly, they both work incredibly well in those conditions and that terrain. I mean, the Vias and the rocks, you can't, but it looks just, you can't see people in it. But, either choice would be fine.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, we figured it probably doesn't matter either way. Yeah. Okay. Well, I want to go through the full layering system and just talk about kind of what we're thinking and see what your recommendations are, and start with base layers. And we've been, wearing the Merinos for years now, and we love how we can wear the Merinos for so long and they don't stink. I think I may have mentioned this to Jay, but when we got back from Alaska, I'd worn a Merino 145 zip tee, for like 10 days straight, And when I unpacked my gear, actually, like, put it in my wife's face, and I said, "Babe, can you tell me, is this dirty or clean?" And she, like, took a big sniff, and she was like, "I think it's clean." And I was like, "I wore that shirt for 10 days straight," and then she got mad at me.
Probably wasn't too happy about that, yeah.
No, yeah, she wasn't, but it's just awesome. And so I mean, when do you make the choice to go from, the Merinos to the Peloton?
Both are great choices, and there's I don't know if there's a better choice between one or the other. I think a lot of it's personal preference.
Yeah.
Guys just don't like the feeling of Merino against their skin. The one thing I don't like about Merino personally is how long it holds moisture and how long it stays wet versus the Peloton.
Yeah. And
that's the only downside to it in how I look at it. The advantage is obviously with the keratin protein that makes up Merino wool, it's antimicrobial by nature, so it's going to stay cleaner. It's not going to have an odor, and that's that advantage to Merino. I mean, the downside to it's a hydrophilic fiber, so it's going to pull moisture into the fabric. It's how it functions to keep you dry when you're wet, is it's pulling moisture off your skin into the fabric. But because of that, then it holds the moisture. And for me, I've really started to spend and choose the Peloton for most of my hunts, just because I like a drier fabric against my skin, and the Peloton, because it has no elastic in it, dries incredibly fast. And, like I said, I hunted for years in Merino wool on these sheep hunts, and it's just the last couple of years that I've switched to Peloton, really for personal preference. But if you like Merino, you're used to it, that's a fine choice for this trip. Yeah.
Would you take if going with Merino, would you choose the 145 zip offs, or would you go with the heavier weight for the sheep hunt? And then what would you do in the moose kit?
Yeah, for me, what I do on the Merino is I'll take a crew T-shirt, so either a 125 or a 145. That time of year, I'd probably go with a heavier one, and then I'll bring a 145 zip tee. And why I like that is I can wear the crew tee as my main shirt. The zip tee, if it gets wet, I can switch into the zip tee during the day. Or if I need to add additional warmth, I can throw the 145 zip tee over the 145 crew and use it as a part of my layering system. Yep. And then for the kind of the midweight choice, what I've gone to instead of the Merino 210 is the Peloton 200, just because it's lighter and warmer and dries faster. And that's what I recommend on the bottoms too. I'd recommend the 145 zip offs on the bottom, and then the Peloton 200 for the zip offs to go over those for the later portion of your hunt.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Oh, that makes great sense. But you would also add in the insulation layer then too as well.
Of course, yeah.
For the Super Down or the Kenai.
I would for up there, no question, Super Down.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's just you're going to spend a lot of time sitting behind glass, and Super Down weight to warmth ratio is far superior to that of Kenai, just a warmer product. And then the other jacket you may consider for your later hunt is the Super Down Pro that's coming out. And it'll be out before your hunt. And that has twice the amount of down as our Super Down. And it's just a really, really warm jacket. And towards the end of that September, you're going to get some really cold conditions at night and in the mornings. And having that extra insulation, at least on the jacket, may be something to think about having flown in for your moose hunt.
Gotcha. Okay.
Not mandatory, but it is nice to have a really warm down jacket. Not even necessarily to hunt in, but just either sit in the glass or in the mornings and at night.
Jason, do you happen to know what the weight is going to be on that Super Down Pro yet?
It's still super light. I think it's like 15 or 16 ounces.
Okay.
Wow.
And then when you were talking about the Super Down earlier, you were talking about the Ultra. You were talking about the new Super Down, right?
Yeah, I'm
40% less weight, right?
It is, yeah. I mean, Super Down Ultra now is depending on your size, is like 6 ounces to 7 ounces.
Yeah. Don't worry, Jay. Don't worry, Jay. I've already bought it.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, we picked up all that weight savings with the new fabric technology from Toray, and it didn't give up. And it's just as strong and as durable as the Super Down. It's amazing.
Wow, that's awesome. So, would you for a jacket on like the sheep hunt? Would you still take like a Kenai jacket as well as a Super Down jacket, or would you choose a different jacket to take?
I would choose a different jacket.
Okay.
You won't need 2 layers of insulation.
Okay.
And I would either do a guide jacket, or if you want to really count ounces, I like the 240 Peloton 240 because it has the wind resistance in by construction, how they bond the fabrics together, and that's a lighter choice, probably a more versatile choice, and that'll block wind. And so you can throw, if it gets really cold, you can throw that over your base layer system, and or you can put your Super Down on and then throw that over the top to just give you more protection. And then then I use my shell over the top of that.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense.
Either of those would be fine choices. The guide jacket's going to be a little bit warmer, a little more robust, and more versatile as far as in the weather. So either of those choices would be great, but the 240 just weighs a little bit less, a little more versatile, but not.
It's quite a bit less in weight than the guide jacket, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a bit. I've weighed them out too. So Jason, to review real quick. So like on your top, you would run a probably like a 145T, then a 145 zip long sleeve.
Yep.
And then you would probably your next layer might be the Peloton 240.
It would be the Peloton 200, and I like the hooded one.
The hooded one. Okay.
Yep. Because you can pull it up over your head where you're sitting in glassing, and you don't need a beanie.
And then you would also take the Super Down the Super Down Ultra, and then the Peloton 240 as well.
Correct. I would.
Okay, that would be your rain shell, obviously, but
yes,
that would be your top layering system for the sheep hunt.
It would be.
Yeah, Jason. Again, which ones would you get? Which pieces would you get with hoods? Obviously, your rain gear has a hood.
Yep. I pretty much always bring a hood on all my products up north.
Okay.
If I have a choice.
Okay. Right.
Sometimes you get all the hoods going, and it kind of feels like there's a lot, but most of the time you're not going to have them all on at one time.
Yeah.
And when you're up north and it's blowing hard on a ridge, and it's nice to be able to pull those hoods up.
Okay.
The wind coming down your back. If you were going to choose one not to bring a hood on, you may think about the 200 and not bringing a hood on that if you're just worried about having too many hoods. But the nice thing about the 200 is if you're hiking, it's a great layer to have over your merino. And then if it gets cold or you get some wind up that's blowing on your back, you can throw that hood up. It makes it kind of convenient. But gotcha. Choose one maybe not to have a hood on. Maybe it's the 200.
Okay, all right. But you'd have it on like the Super Down on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then on the 240.
I would.
With the hood. Yep. And obviously the guide jacket has a hood if we went that route. Okay.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Let's talk about pants. Which piece? Travis and I'll tell you right now, we love the knee pads in the Alpines and the Chinooks, and it seems like as bow hunters, we do so much of our stalking, we'll end up on our hands and knees, and so many times we end up shooting game from a kneeling position.
Sure.
And what do you think from the time that when we're going to be there, what are the best weights, what best pieces?
Sure, I would recommend, on the bottoms like we talked about with the base layers, the 145 zip-offs and the 200s, and then I would bring if you like the Alpine pant, that would be a great choice. I wouldn't probably choose the Chinook. It's a little bit heavier, and it's a bonded fabric, and I don't think you'll need, with having the base layers you're going to bring, you won't need that extra warmth of the Chinook.
Okay.
You're going to want the versatility that the Alpine will give you.
Okay.
That would be a great choice. You definitely need the Yukon Gators.
Yep.
Guys, make sure to catch part 2, episode number 303, a continuation of all of the gear talk with Jason Hairston and the Wiest brothers. Thanks for listening. That
extra warmth of the Chinook.
Okay.
You're You're going to want the versatility that the Alpine will give you.
Okay.
And that would be a great choice. You're definitely going to need the Yukon Gators.
Yep. Okay. What about later in the Moose Kit bag? What pants should we throw in for that latter part of the hunt?
I mean, that's where you may want to think about the Chinooks for the later part of the hunt. That way, if you get some colder weather, you get some wet conditions. Soft shell has a tendency to repel the water and wind a little bit better.
Okay. All right.
And it'll give you a clean pant to jump into for that portion of your hunt.
Yeah, gotcha. Probably the Chinooks or the guides would be a good choice.
Either one.
Yeah.
Either one would be great. Yeah, the guides are just a little bit warmer than the Chinooks.
Yep, gotcha. Is there, as far as durability goes, is there any differences in the durability of the 4 different pants? Those choices?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, they're all durable. I think it just depends on the different types of conditions and situations. The guide pant is our most durable pant by construction, probably followed by the Chinook, and then followed by the Attack, and probably the Alpines are least durable. But it's durability is an issue with that fabric.
Yeah.
It's just
Travis and I both. We've worn the Alpines for a while now, and of course the Attack pants, we've worn those for years and years, and then the guides too, and they've all been real tough. The Chinooks are probably the pants that we have the least experience with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you have guide pants, I'd bring those for moose hunt.
Okay, all right. Okay. For rain gear on our hunt, would you say the Chugach is the way to go?
Chugach would be fine. It would. If money is no object and space and weight is an object, you bring the Yukon for your moose hunt, but you won't really need it. You have Chugach, you'll be fine.
Okay, got it. And the NX, the ultralight stuff would probably not be durable enough, huh?
Yeah, leave it at home.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, you will be in your rain gear every day.
Okay.
You'll get weather that comes through, and a lot of times it's just a rainstorm that pops through for an hour and then goes away. But yeah, you'll be in and out of your rain gear all day.
Yeah. Okay.
So I wouldn't recommend the NX just because you'll spend too much time in it and you could end up tearing it potentially.
Gotcha. Well, Travis and I, like in Alaska, I mean, we were in our Chugach rain gear. I mean, like almost every day. And in BC, I've been in it, and I mean, it is bomb-proof gear.
It is. It's great stuff. I mean, for the weight and the durability, I mean, that being a 3-layer fabric, it's that weight is outstanding.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. What would you do on gloves?
For that trip, I mean, I don't go into sheep country without the guide glove or a new Attack glove is what I'll take now, just for hand protection. And I don't know how comfortable you guys are with shooting with gloves on, but I'd always recommend bringing a guide glove or a new Attack glove, which is a little bit thinner version of the guide glove, not quite as warm. Maybe for your trip, I'd choose the guide glove, just for traveling the country and protecting your hands from slips and falls and sharp rocks and stuff around camp, whether you're clearing out tent platforms or grabbing wood or moving rocks on the runway for the plane to land. You're going to want a work type glove like the guide glove is, and it's really what I created it for.
Okay.
And those are easier to get off than the Attack glove to shoot, but you definitely want the guide glove. And then for your later hunt, I would recommend the North Star.
Okay. All right. And then
any need for waterproof glove on the sheep portion, like the Yukon glove, or do you think we can get away?
You could choose the Yukon glove for your sheep portion of the hunt. Would be another great choice, and that one is waterproof, and it has a little more insulation with your later season hunt. Might make more sense than the guide. Just thinking about it, talking to me about it.
Okay.
I'm used to just running the guide glove, and if it gets wet, it dries, and I don't worry about it too much. But actually, with your hunt, I'd probably recommend the Yukon.
Okay, yeah, and I have a tendency to get cold hands, really, really cold hands. My hands get really numb. But I've got mine set up so I run a large in the Yukon glove, and then I run a medium in like the the Peloton or the Merino thin gloves, and I can layer.
I recommend the Peloton for that hunt. Yeah, no, that's what I do. It's a great choice.
Okay. Yeah, good. Yeah, and shooting with gloves, I can't do it with thicker gloves. I have to have if I shoot with a glove at all, it's got to be a really thin glove. So like the Peloton, really thin glove would be something I could shoot in.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Okay.
You think we'd be warm enough, with the Peloton 200 under the Yukon glove in the later part of the hunt, or should we also consider, putting the glassing mitt in the kit for the moose kit?
Either the glassing mitt or the North Star.
Or the North Star.
You'll want a warmer glove for the later portion of your hunt. Absolutely.
Okay.
The one benefit of the North Star is you're going to be able to use your fingers, whereas the glassing mitt is basically just a shell, right, that's just going to keep your hands warm.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to need a warm glove for your later portion. You're going to need the North Star glove.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. And then for another, headgear, probably ball cap, and then would you do the 145 merino beanie and neck gaiter, or would you do like the Peloton?
I would bring the 145 neck gaiter for sure. I never leave home without it. And then I would, on that trip, I would bring, probably both. I like the lightweight merino to sleep in if it's cold. I like it for climbing if it's cold and windy. Mm-hmm. I could throw it over the top of my hat and pull it down, and turn with a 145 neck gaiter, turn it into a balaclava. And then I'll bring the 240 as well. You'll need both.
Gotcha. Okay.
The 240 beanie, yeah. Okay.
Yep. Got it.
Awesome.
And then any extra clothes, waterproof stuff sack, like you said before.
Yeah, and really for me on your sheep hunt, that's everything we talked about on the kit layering system. That's all I'm bringing. I don't bring an extra pant. I don't bring an extra anything other than socks. And I bring, for you guys, I'd probably bring maybe 2 pairs of extra socks besides the socks you're wearing. And
2
my bag. And then I bring a couple pairs of our Peloton briefs.
Okay. On the socks, Jason, would you on the sheep hunt? Would you just carry 1 extra pair of socks, or should we take 2 for the sheep portion and then have extra socks on for the moose kit?
I normally only bring 1 extra pair, and last year in the Yukon we were in and out of rivers so much. I wish I had a 3rd pair of socks with me so I could actually get into a dry pair because they weren't always drying.
Okay.
Up there, you're probably in that sheep country not going to be in as much water. You could get away with 1 extra pair of socks.
Gotcha.
It just depends on what's important to you. A 3rd pair wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. But again, it just depends how many ounces and grams you want to shave.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Jason, do you wear 2 pairs of socks like Brendan, or do you just wear 1 pair?
I just wear our overcalf. I bring our overcalf socks, just 1 pair.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's talk about boots since we're talking about socks real quick. Obviously, you guys sell a range of boots. I'd like you to talk about y'all's boots. I know on your recent live event, which I watched, you covered some of that, but maybe on this podcast it'd be good to cover the boots and kind of which ones you think are best for what type of trip, and maybe which ones you think you'd recommend Brad and I try. I forget the names of them real quick. I think that the kind of the middle one is the K, right? The Rebel K.
Rebel K is what I'd recommend for you guys. And why I created this boot line with Scarpa and instead of trying to adopt what they currently had is to really get a boot that was designed specifically for the type of conditions and the things that we do as hunters, which is different than mountaineering. I mean, we're going to be traveling a range of conditions, a range of topographies, not just all straight up and down mountains where a really stiff boot is needed, but uncomfortable, walking the valley floor with a heavy pack on. And the other thing I wanted to do is take all the modern and technical advancements that Scarpa's created on the upper portion of their boots and put it in a combination with the mid and outsole that we did to have the perfect blend. The really spent last couple years over at Scarpa's facility with the design team, studying materials and talking to them about modern synthetics and boots and how far they've come and all the advantages, and getting to experience them. And testing this boot line last year, it's such a massive advantage by using all synthetic versus boots with leather. And the leather it's going to hold moisture, and when it gets wet, it doesn't breathe as well. It will keep your foot colder, keep moisture into the boot, and doesn't dry, so your boots become heavier. They will create boot stretch, and your boot will fit differently at the end of your hunt than the beginning. And then as they dry and get wet again, that leather will crack, and it'll hit your waterproof wheel membrane and crack it and split it, so your boots start to leak. And the boots we created obviously solve those problems, but also the synthetic materials are lighter than leather. They dry faster, keep your foot drier because they breathe so much better, and they don't hold moisture. And then we used a kind of the newest development in boot fit, which is their sock fit. So your foot just slides in. There isn't the bulk of a tongue, which obviously saves weight, but also just gives you a really comfortable fit around your foot. And then the material they have has a little stretch and give in it that makes that sock fit just incredibly comfortable. And these boots weigh a pound less per boot than like our Grand Drews that we recommended previous to this for sheep hunts. And it's just a far superior product that weighs less than anything that's ever been created for mountain hunting.
Awesome. I can't wait to put some miles on them.
No, absolutely. I was just going to recommend that too. I mean, what's great about the Superfeet, it gives you rigidity in and around your arch. It just keeps that foot from sliding around. I don't know if you guys have used those in the past, but I won't go in the mountains without them.
Yeah, we've used them, and they make a big difference.
They do.
Jason, what about you also have that boot, the Rebel Ultra GTX, that has the built-in gaiters.
Yep.
When would you recommend that over the Rebel K?
Well, for me, that's what I'm going to take on sheep hunts. That was going to be my other suggestion to you guys. It's a more robust boot. It's got a larger lug Vibram sole. It's going to be a little bit stiffer than the Rebel K, and then obviously has that built-in gaiter that comes up and can cover your socks, or you can tuck your socks down in there for stream crossings. Again, it's going to kind of be dependent on what you guys are used to. If you're not used to a stiff mountaineering style boot, I'd recommend the Rebel K.
Okay.
If you're used to a stiff boot and you like those advantages that come with it, then the new Rebel Ultra that we're going to release in a couple weeks would be something to consider. And it's like I said, it's kind of going to be what you prefer and what you're used to. If you're not used to a stiff mountaineering style boot, I'd recommend the Rebel K because you're going to be doing stocking, and the stiffness may feel a little awkward to you.
Okay. Yeah.
Both are great choices.
Do you always run your Yukon gaiters?
Always.
Yeah.
In that country, absolutely.
Okay.
Do you ever take a backup set of boots on a hunt like this? Like to leave at the base camp?
I never do. Only because I spend so much time in my boots and blister my feet before. I've never ever had a problem with my boots in that country. You will want something to cross streams with. So a lot of guys bring Crocs.
Okay.
I bring trail running shoes just because I want a backup pair of shoes that I could do something with. If for some reason I had a problem with my boots, I got a pair of trail runners that I can at least hike out in, which would be a lot better than a pair of Crocs.
So that's an interesting point. I hadn't thought of it. I was thinking Crocs, but that could be a big. I guess if you're saying you had like a blowout, like your sole blew out or something or whatever, something tore loose.
Or your feet were so destroyed in blisters that you couldn't get in your boots anymore. At least you got something you could potentially, stock something in or hike in.
Yeah, right.
That's how I look at it. And then the other thing is just crossing rivers with Crocs versus trail runners. My feet are better in those. They don't slop around. They don't get gravel inside of it. They feel more secure on my feet.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why I choose trail runners. Again, most people choose Crocs because they're lighter and they're easier to get your foot in and out of. But I always bring trail runners.
You know any trail running lines that are better in terms of like maybe drying out faster or just
I just look for I try to look at weight on those.
Okay. Just find something light.
And just get something really light.
Okay.
Because you don't need a lot. I mean, you don't need a really robust trail running shoe unless you already have one that you like.
Mm-hmm.
But I forget the name of I think I was running there's an outdoor shoe company that builds one that's really lightweight. It's got some sticky rubber on the bottom. I can't remember the brand name though.
Is it like a King, Jason?
It might be. Yeah, Keens are heavy.
When you're talking about trail runner, are you talking like a Teva, or are you talking like a running shoe?
No, I bring a running shoe.
Okay.
Like a trail running shoe. Yeah.
Okay.
I get trail running tennis shoe. Yeah.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. Like Merrell's or
Merrell makes a really lightweight one. That's the brand I was trying to think of.
Oh, okay.
Merrell's got some pretty sticky rubber, and they make they make a pair that's really light and doesn't have a lot of cushioning. That's the one I bring.
Okay. Yeah, and you're not getting waterproof because you're going to be walking in a stream with them. They get wet, so.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So when I walk into a retail store that sells running shoes and I take my postal scale with me, they're going to look at me funny.
I hear you.
Yeah.
So, and obviously, I mean, you probably have a paracord or something in your kit, which we're going to talk about emergency kits here in a little bit, but just in case you have a lace blowout or something like that, I would assume, right?
I do. Yeah, I have paracord that I use. Yeah, as a multi-purpose use. Absolutely.
Yeah. So you don't take an actual extra set of laces in case that you just in a double duty paracord, I'm sure, right?
No, usually if I blow out a lace, I'll just tie a knot in it. Keep going. I don't even switch it out.
Don't even. Okay, gotcha. So one of the other things that Tavis had suggested to us, which we have no experience in these kind of boots, which is called pack boots, and he said that he was recommending that we get a pair of pack boots and put those in our moose kit for the moose hunting portion, and he was saying maybe it was even more so for the cold than it was necessarily for like the swampy conditions. But we've looked at pack boots. We even ordered some and tried them on, and sent them back because we were scared. But we were curious what your thoughts were on that.
So I just did a moose hunt in the Yukon the year before last with my dad with our bows, and we wore Chenet pack boots, and their tallest one, they go almost up to your knee. And they're built for moose hunting, and the swampy stuff you go through, the cold weather, and they are hard to beat for the moose portion of your hunt. Okay. And they are going to keep your feet warm, and you can buy extra inserts. You can switch them out if they get wet. And I know why Tavis is recommending them, because they're awesome for moose hunting. They really are.
Yeah. And if I have cold feet issues, that you think this would be something I really would be wise to consider?
100%. Absolutely. And I get the tallest ones they make.
Okay.
And they have a million little lace hooks, and they lace them up, but man, they're outstanding for those late season moose hunts.
Okay. Sweet.
Yeah, awesome. Definitely nothing you want to take on your sheep portion of your hunt. But you'll love them for the moose part of your hunt. They're amazing.
Great.
You know, when Tavis first was telling me about all this stuff, and he hadn't yet told me that we were going to be changing locations, or kind of how we were going to change locations, that I could pack an extra bag that I didn't have to carry on the sheep hunt. And I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to carry that when I'm sheep hunting. But yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's switch gears and talk to you about packs. So I'm assuming that for our sheep hunt, the Icon Pro 7200 is going to be your recommendation, right?
It would. I mean, you could get away with the Ultra 6000, but if you're going to be up in that country with sheep and caribou, I would probably recommend the 7200. Okay.
Jason, I have the Icon 7000 with the old style frame that I used, I think, on my last grizzly backpack hunt, and I loved it. I've been happy with the pack. Do you think are there reasons why I should consider just going ahead and upgrading and getting the 7200 Icon Pro over the 7000 that I've got?
I've got kids to feed.
Yeah, well, that's a good reason, huh?
I got a daughter that's going to get married, and I got to put him through college. She'll absolutely need to upgrade.
Yeah,
we don't need to discuss it anymore.
Okay, let's do a trade-in.
Yeah, I mean, the newer version of our packs are just upgrades from what you had. The frames, obviously been re-engineered, redesigned with the latest advancements in spread-toe carbon fiber. It's stiffer and stronger than what your pack currently has. And the upgrades to the pack and the packs and the bags and the suspensions all been upgraded from those versions. We work on them every single year, and they've come, a substantially long way from the pack that you have. And one thing you don't want to have is an issue with the pack. Not that you'd have it with that because you've used it in the past. And I've never had an issue with any of our packs. But it's a good excuse to get the newest, latest, greatest. And we just released our new 17 packs, and they're just awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I like the pack. I don't. I don't want to spend money wastefully, but I also am very willing to spend money if it's going to put me into better gear that would make a difference to me when I'm out there.
You'll be able to get it. Yeah, and you'll be able to add in the other smaller bags on that system, the current ones, versus the older packs, which the modularity doesn't quite work as well with the new bags. And so, just upgrading it to our 17 pack would allow you to transfer into the smaller packs too in the modular system.
Yeah. Okay. And so
you guys have 3 frame sizes now on the new frames, right?
We do. Yeah. How tall are you guys?
That's a good question. Okay, so I am 6'2" and weigh about 200 pounds right now.
You want the extra tall frame.
Okay.
For sure.
I'm a really tall 5'9.5", Jason.
Do you have a long torso or a short torso?
No, honestly, I don't know. I guess that's the determining factor then is your torso length, and so we need to measure that. How do you measure that?
Well, what's your inseam length?
30, 32, 30 or 32. I mean, I guess a 30 fits fine, but
you want to be I put you in the tall frame.
Tall.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Most people undersize the frames, and it probably has to do with how we tagged them, regular and tall. But you get in that 5'9", 5'10" range. I like to see in the large or the tall frame, especially under heavy loads. As that pack gets weighed down, you want to make sure that geometry's at a 45-degree angle off your load lifters down to your shoulder straps, and that at times when you're in that 5'9", 5'10" range, the regular size frame isn't tall enough for you. There's no problem going taller. It's a problem when you don't have a tall enough frame.
Gotcha. Yep.
Travis.
Yeah, you were saying the load lifter straps, Jason. You want those to be at a 45-degree angle. Is that right?
Correct. Yep, coming off the top of the bag down to your shoulder straps, 45-degree angle. And you want to test that at home with weight.
Yeah.
You want to load them up with 60 pounds and then stand in the mirror and look at it. And if it's not at a 45-degree angle, you want to adjust those pack straps until you have that correct angle.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. When you're packing your pack, you put lighter items towards the bottom and then heavier stuff higher up, right?
Correct. Yeah, and you want to get the heavy, like the food bag is going to be your heaviest, and that goes, against the back panel.
Yeah.
And we've got those lashing straps for the new packs. You can lash it in. And what I use for food packing bags, which are outstanding, is our zippered meat bags.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I've got them for double duty.
Yeah.
Keep stuff organized. So I'll use a zippered meat bag for my dehydrated meals, and then a zippered meat bag for my individual pack lunches that I'll bring.
Okay. Yeah.
And then you got your 2 zippered meat bags there to be used when you knock something down.
Yeah, and if you kill early, it's just a good problem that you now don't have a meat bag for your food to be in.
At that point, you don't care.
That's right, yeah. That's right.
Yeah, you can always put your food, obviously, in your pack or somewhere, but use those meat bags.
Okay, gotcha.
We love running the bow holder, too, Jason. That's an awesome product.
Thank you. Yeah, it works great.
Definitely, yeah. Okay, cool. Travis, you want to talk about electronics and other stuff?
Yeah, and the other item on the packs too is a rain cover. You always take a rain cover, I guess.
I'm the worst. I never bring one, and every time I don't, I wish I did.
Okay.
So my pack, like last year, some of the hunts I've had, you get some rain and it dries out. But last year, we just got pounded with rain every day, and my pack was soaked and just remained soaked. It's a good idea to bring one. It's just nice to have a dry pack, even though my stuff's always in dry bags and protected against moisture. I'd recommend bringing one.
It's so light and small. Yeah, might as well.
Do you put your pack and all your gear inside your tent at night?
I do. Yeah, I'll use
Okay.
one side of my vestibule for my pack and boots. And then on the other side, I'm leaving somewhat open so I can have a stove there in the morning and make coffee and anything else I might have to need that space for.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we're going to jump into kind of electronics and other gear right now, and so some of this stuff will kind of bounce through pretty quick, I guess. But, do you have any recommendations on like a good compact, rugged camera?
Sony, I just bought a Sony, and I really like it. And there's a couple different versions they're point and shoot. And they range in price. The one I bought was pretty expensive. It was over $1,000. I can't remember the exact model. They make one that's in that $700 to $800 range. Make another one that's in that $1,000 to $1,200 range, and they're compact and they shoot an amazing photo. And Blaze Duros, who's our in-house videographer and photographer, recommended them. And they don't have removable lenses, which I like, but they got a great zoom, and they use a mirror system that Sony has patented that just takes an incredible picture. It's got a lot of different options to it, and it also shoots video as well, and it's crystal clear. It's amazing.
Jason, could you maybe
the best bang for your buck in photography?
Okay. I assume is it a waterproof camera or not?
No, it's not waterproof. No, so I'll put it in a small dry bag and put it in the camera case.
Yeah. Okay.
Jason, could you maybe put a picture of that or something on your Instagram account, or maybe text me a picture, if not, of that camera?
Of what the Sony is?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send you the link. How's that?
Perfect.
Cool. So, the power cell and solar charger, I've got the Goal Zero Nomad, I guess, power cell, but I've never used a solar charger. I'm just curious how that sucker works, kind of how you use it. Is it something you leave at camp set up and you just charge your power pack, and then that's if you're kind of leaving your camp and day hunting away, or
what electronics are you going to bring, I guess is the question.
Well, I guess obviously let's talk about that's a good question then. So I guess I was gonna take my iPhone because I've gotten to where I run my iPhone in a life-proof case, and I like the GPS on my iPhone better than I do my Garmin. And I like having the highly detailed topo maps. Like when we went to Alaska, we had 1 to 10 contour topo maps of the entire area, and I looked at the Tavis's area, and there's the same thing. We have the 1 to 10 contour topo maps of the entire, and so I thought that I just found it really nice to have great detailed topo maps, and I'm highly familiar with the functionality of my GPS on my iPhone. I was also planning on maybe using it as double duty with my sat phone and getting like an Iridium Go, which connects Bluetooth to the iPhone, and so that's kind of was my plan to run with that. And so I don't have any experience with GPS watches or any kind of like, I guess, mountaineering type watches where they have altimeters and stuff like that. And I didn't know if that was something that I needed to look into. I was going to ask you about that. Obviously, I'm going to take a headlamp, and I was going to take 2 headlamps. I was going to run the, I guess it's, I'm trying to remember which one of the Petzls it is. You guys carried it, or maybe you still do, but it's not the biggest one, but it was a little bit smaller, one of the rechargeable ones. I was going to carry the little E-light as my backup headlamp and extra battery for it. But then, so I guess I'd have several things that needed to be recharged, possibly the headlamp, the Iridium Go, and the iPhone.
And the Iridium Go is for, what does that do? Just connect your iPhone out so you can make calls?
Yeah, you can make calls, send emails, and send texts. It's really small and light. Like I said, Bluetooth connects to your iPhone, and then you can use it just like a sat phone.
Oh, yeah, Travis and I used it in Alaska, Jason, and we really liked it because both of us were able to use the same Iridium Go. You can only have one phone actually calling at one time, but like if Travis was on the phone, I could queue up text messages, and then as soon as Travis hung up, they'd shoot them out, and so it was kind of neat. Yeah, it's waterproof. It was pretty cool to be able to turn your iPhone into a sat phone. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're going to be running your iPhone for multi-purpose, I'd definitely bring the solar panel and a battery pack to plug into it at night or during the day. And what I'll do is I'll leave that solar panel out of my tent, the roof of my tent during the day, and then if you're hiking all day, you can strap to the outside of your, like the upper portion of your pack lid if you feel like you're just not getting enough charge, or you need to have a charge. And then I would probably bring a bigger battery pack for the solar charger, and then bring a smaller backup battery pack to have in your pack should your phone get low on batteries during the day. You're using your GPS a lot.
Okay.
Because obviously, if you're going to rely on that GPS on your phone, you got to make sure you've got batteries. I've had days in Arctic Red where I hiked for 24 straight hours throughout the night to get back to camp, and so you just want to make sure that if you're going to rely on that GPS, you're going to have backup batteries to charge your phone if it's getting run down. Because my phone typically goes through batteries pretty quick.
That's one of the downsides.
Yeah, it is. The good thing is you can put it in airplane mode, and the GPS runs perfectly in airplane mode, and it doesn't suck any extra battery down. So that is. But
yeah, I would stay with it for sure. And having something to call home versus asking the guide for a sat phone is always a good thing, because they never like to use it. To have us kind of discourages it. So
figure with the length of the trip we're going to be on, that would be pretty important to our families to be able to stay in communication like that.
Yeah, I bring a sat phone and call home almost every day, just for my wife's ease her mind.
Yeah, peace of mind. Yeah,
I'm still alive.
Got to keep Mama happy. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's nice to check in. Talk to the kids.
So we were also going to take, as far as just kind of other gear too. I think that kind of covers the electronics, but we were going to take a titanium spoon and a cup, sunglasses, wind checker, a book, glassing pad, and trekking poles. And let's talk a bit about trekking poles and ice axe.
Okay.
What do you got?
Both are fine choices. I prefer an ice axe, and I prefer having one hand free versus two trekking poles in my hands. It's just what I've gotten used to. What I love about the ice axe is it's a multi-purpose mountain tool, and I can dig out tent platforms. I can knock down willows if you're going to have to set up a camp where there's willows you got to break down. You can chop firewood with it. You can use it to clean out areas for a runway. I've used it on stalks where I'm on a side of a really steep mountain. I need to pop my pack off, and I have no place to put it, and it's going to tumble down the mountain. I'll bury that front point of that ice axe in and hang my pack on it. And you can't do that with trekking poles. Ice axe is more durable than a trekking pole. I've seen people put trekking poles into boulder fields and snap them off a lot on several occasions on those hunts. And the trekking pole that we sell is just a lot more durable, ice axe that we sell is a lot more durable than anybody's trekking pole, no matter what brand. Just about how it's built, and it's just a really good tool. And I like the hand position on a ice axe versus a trekking pole. You have with your palm down, you have it's a stronger position if you need to catch yourself in a fall than with your hand at an angle or your arm at an angle. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does.
And I like having one hand free and shifting it back and forth as needed, and versus both hands in the trekking poles.
Gotcha. Okay.
And it looks way cooler in photos.
And that's so important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And actually, I know Brendan's used one at one point for bear defense. Came across a black bear at close distance and had to hit him with his ice axe across the nose.
Really? Yeah. I think on one of the YouTube videos, Brendan was saying he had trekking poles and you had the ice axe, and he had to borrow yours sometimes to clear his tent spot and stuff like that. So,
oh, yeah. Yeah, last year in the Yukon, we hunted with a guide, and he looked at me like, why in the heck are you bringing an ice axe? And then halfway through the trip, he kept borrowing it, and I ended up leaving it with him. He asked if he could keep it. He's like, I get it. Sorry I gave you a hard time to start. Yeah, I think it was the first guy at Arctic Red to bring an ice axe, and they kind of, I got off the plane at base camp. They're all looking at me like a nuts.
Yeah.
But after they watch me use it for so many different things, they all end up getting them.
Yeah. Hey, going back on the watches, you had mentioned that you like, on one of the videos, I think, that you like using the Garmin GPS watch. Is that still your go-to watch for
I used it last year. And I actually prefer the Sunto, and I think it might just be because I'm used to the Sunto.
Oh, okay.
And Garmin has more features to it, but it also ate up more batteries.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm able to get a lot more life out of my Sunto than the Garmin.
Mm-hmm.
Either are good choices. I know most of the guys here in the office now have switched over to the Garmin, and I think I'm just old school, and I like to use what I'm used to, and I'm familiar with the use of the Sunto. Both are great choices, and that's what I use for my GPS, my compass, my altimeter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, got it.
And it's simple and easy to use, and it's on your wrist, so you'll use it. Yeah, and always mark base camp. Also mark, if I knock down a ram, and we have to come back to get them. I'll hit GPS coordinates throughout the trip.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, I always have a little actual magnetic compass, I guess, in my emergency kit too. But
yep.
Boy, the GPS sure is nice.
Yeah.
So, Brad, you want to talk about emergency kit stuff?
Yeah, hey, sure. Quickly though, I want to back up a couple. You mentioned headlamps. And the headlamp you guys chose, I'm assuming it's our Petzl headlamp without the battery pack on the back, correct?
That's right. Yeah,
the battery pack snapped in the front.
Right.
Yeah, that's probably fine. I wouldn't recommend the little micro E-light for backup on your trip. I would recommend 2 of those.
Okay.
And the reason is you guys are going to be later in the season, spending more time at night, and if you have a problem with your headlamp, you're going to want a full headlamp as a backup.
Okay.
And be incredibly careful of that headlamp when you put it away, and making sure that you lock that headlamp so it can't turn itself back on. One thing I don't like about the headlamp is it's easy to throw in your pack and have it get turned on.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
One of the things I like about the other headlamp with the battery pack in the back, it's got a cable that comes around. You can untwist that cable in a second and pull it apart. There's no way for that headlamp to come on your pack. And it's got more power and has a more powerful stream, which I've relied on in a lot of situations in that country. And
do you remember the name of those headlamps, Jason?
Yeah, I'll pull them up real quick.
It's the Petzl Now is the Now is the one you're talking about, Jason, that you can unplug in the back, I think.
It is, yep. And I've used that headlamp for years. And it's got me out of some bad situations in that country. Yeah. I've been in snowstorms and rain and fog. Yeah. And we've gone because you'll descend through country for the first time at night with a heavy pack load in a storm, and you could walk yourself right into a cliff situation. Not that you go off the cliffs, but it can make it just getting down through there really difficult, or you might be descending into a spot that cliffs out and you can't get down and through, and that really powerful headlamp can help identify that. And it saved me on several occasions. And that now it's a really powerful headlamp, and I won't go into that country without that headlamp. And then I bring the other one as a backup.
Which is the...
Okay, and that one's the Reactic, I think is what it's called?
Yeah.
Yep. And the Now is my main headlamp, and the Reactic's my backup.
So you don't even take the little E-light then?
Not in that country. It's too important to have a full-blown backup.
Okay.
Gotcha. Okay. So so the Now would be your primary, the Reactic would be your secondary, and that would be your go-to system for that.
Yep. And then you can recharge your Now when you get back to camp at night, which I do. Plug it in and recharge it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The Reactic uses batteries, or how does it work?
It has a battery system too. And then for the Now, and I don't know if we carry backup batteries. I've had multiple of them, so I carry an entire separate battery pack I can plug in on that Now.
Okay.
But if you bring in an extra rechargeable battery for your phone, you could use that as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Quick question would be, if you were going on this same hunt like I am next year, but way earlier in the season where you're going to have, pretty much daylight the whole, all the time, would you get as careful about bringing those 2 headlamps, or would you just take one with maybe an E-light?
You're going on the first hunt of the season, right, in July?
Right. Next year, though.
Yeah, I would take. You're fine with the E-light, or no? You're fine with bringing an E-light in either the Reactive or the Now.
Okay, just because of
you're not.
More light.
It's hardly going to get dark.
Right.
Yeah, it's hardly going to get dark on your trip, if at all.
Okay.
And it almost gets just twilight and then gets light again. So Yeah, I wouldn't worry about that. It's a later season hunts when it's pitch black and you're in a storm and you're in the fog and you're descending with a heavy pack weight or just getting off the mountain is where you're going to want that really powerful headlamp.
Okay.
Being cavemen, Jason, too, we love headlamps, so we can never have too many headlamps.
You can't. That's right. Yeah.
Well, they get you out of bad situations, as you guys know. If you have
Absolutely, and always got to have a backup.
Bad situation if you don't. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
You got to.
Rule of 3 in caving: you always take 3 light sources, and always take 3 people on the trip, and always tell 3 people where you're going when you'll be back.
Yep. Good. Yeah. Absolutely. Cool. That was. I'm glad we jumped back into that. So on going into the emergency kit. So Jason, what do you make sure you have in your emergency kit? First aid kit. And then, like your personal kit, what all are you making sure you carry in those 3 little bags?
Let's start with personal kit. I bring a travel toothbrush.
Yep.
Obviously, some toothpaste. I like to brush my teeth a couple times a day, and then I'll bring ibuprofen.
Mm-hmm.
I will also go to a doctor prior to my hunt, and I'll get a strong antibiotic, like an X-Pack. You heard of X-Packs?
X-Pack.
Or Z-Pack.
Or Z-Pack, excuse me. Z-Pack, correct.
Yeah.
We're basically a nuke your system of any illness you might get, and that's really to protect yourself against traveling up north and catching something.
Okay. And you'll take that before you go?
No, I'll have it in my pack.
Okay. Gotcha.
And then also bring a strong painkiller like a Vicodin and get like 10 pills for that. Should you have some sort of, you blow out your knee or rupture an Achilles.
Okay.
You got something to do with severe pain.
Okay.
And then I bring, obviously some sunblock and a deodorant that has no scent, like an Arm & Hammer type of deodorant.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll bring wet wipes.
Yep.
And I'll dehydrate those wet wipes before I go in. You can either set them outside in the sun, or you can put them in a microwave, or both.
Okay.
And I'll take all the moisture out of them so they're totally dry and light, and then I will bring 2 Ziploc bags for those. And I'll put a small portion in one Ziploc bag, add some water to it, and rehydrate, or put the water back into them, and then I'll leave the others dehydrated and just rotate them as needed. It ends up saving you quite a bit of weight.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
I will bring blister care. I will bring Band-Aids. I will bring, first aid type of product.
Okay.
Something to do with, cleaning out a cut, like some sort of cream, antibacterial.
Neosporin or something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I don't know if you guys have any issues with like chafing or have had those problems, but I know some guys will bring like a small tube of Vaseline.
Okay.
Which can help in those situations.
Gotcha.
And then obviously I bring at least 2 tubes of chapstick.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Which, if you ask Brendan about his experience in the one sheep hunting on without chapstick, you never leave it at home.
Okay.
So
that's your personal kit there. Yeah, and that's your personal kit and your first aid stuff, right?
Yeah, personal first aid, and then on my emergency kit, obviously a really great fire starting source. And there's
like a trioxane tablet, or what are you talking about?
Yes, something that you can get lit, and there's lots of different choices out there. I use a tube of what's called fire paste.
Okay.
You get it from like an REI, and I'll squirt that into an old film canister, a plastic canister like that, and I'll fill it all the way to the top. But it can be the tablet, it can be any type of really good fire starter that burns hot is fine. Obviously, I will bring a torch. The problem with traveling with a torch up north is if they see it in your bag, they'll pull it from you. Lighters I've had go through more than if it's the torch, they have a tendency to pull it out of your bags if they see it in X-ray.
Okay.
And I'll bring at least 2 really good large-size lighters.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to bring 2 emergency blankets, space blankets.
Okay.
And I like two because you can use one for shelter, one to wrap yourself up with, or if you need to lay on the ground, you can lay on one and pull the other one over you to keep moisture off your body if you need it.
Okay. And I guess you're speaking from experience. You've had to use them before.
I haven't had to use my space blankets before, but I have talked to people that have spent the night out with one, and they always say, I wish I had a second.
Okay.
They also make space blanket bags, like a sleeping bag you get into, but I've heard the condensation just gets crazy in those things, and you end up getting wet. So, and you get more versatility. If you have to you can use a space blanket and tie it to a tree and create a wind shelter if you need to, and then have a second one to wrap around your body.
Okay.
And then that's all I bring for staying out overnight. Besides, I never leave camp without my super down. Never leave camp without my rain gear.
Okay.
And I'm going to have most of my system with me anyways, and so I could spend the night out in my rain gear and all my layering system, including my super down, and some really, in most conditions. Obviously, it's getting out of the wind. If you broke a leg or hurt a knee and you couldn't move, the space blankets and be able to create some sort of wind shelter with those would be important.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. Do you take like some of that tenacious tape or any kind of repair stuff like that?
Yes, absolutely. I was going to lead into that. Yeah, you want to bring some tenacious tape. It's a great repair tape for rain gear, for gaiters, for your sleeping pad if you pop a hole in it. Absolutely.
Okay. Got it. Yeah, and then some paracord. Then
I'll bring some paracord as well. Yep.
Okay. Got it. What about knife? Do you just carry a Havalon and that's it, or do you carry one of those real light? I think y'all for a while carried those Kestrel knives.
I like the Kestrel knives, but only because I don't like Havalons. I end up cutting myself too much with Havalon, changing the blades out, breaking blades off. I like the function of a true knife. And whether it's I'm friends with Nate at Kestrel. Right now I'm using the steel-bladed full-handle knives over the lightweight titaniums. I've used the titanium knives to skin out caribou and sheep in the past, and they work fine. I've just been going to a full-blown knife. I seem to like that even better than the weight savings that on the titanium is. It's not that much more. So I like a true knife. Now Brendan, he always carries a Havalon because that's what he likes and is used to.
Okay. Yeah.
Just personal preference on the knife. The Havalons are great though. I mean, switching out the blades and it's so freaking sharp. It's hard to beat.
They are. Yeah. Yeah. Do you take a backup little knife, or you just you got your one knife?
I bring just one knife.
Yeah. You carry that on your pack waist belt, or or you put it inside your pack?
I just keep it in one of the pockets inside the pack.
Okay. Yeah. You don't have it out, so if you have to stab a bear or something, huh?
I've got a gun and an ice axe I'd use first.
Being from Texas and carrying weapons is kind of commonplace around here. So if Brad doesn't have a pocket knife on him, there's usually something more powerful than a pocket knife on Brad. But so he doesn't have several weapons on him. But he feels naked.
The best thing to do if you guys come across a bear is throw the guy in the ground and then run.
Okay. You got to throw him down because I'm sure the guy's going to be faster than Travis and I.
Or if he's passing you, tackle him or trip him up. But that's the best bear protection you can have, is just throw the guide into the bear's way.
Use an ice axe, and I can throw it like a tomahawk at the guide. Yeah. Knock him down. Yeah. Okay.
Well, speaking of weaponry, let's talk about weapons. So, obviously we're taking bows, but I'm curious, when you go, typically you've rifle hunted, I guess. Do you take a backup gun?
No, I don't. I never bring a backup gun.
Never bring a backup gun? Okay.
I was just bring one. It's really well. I've done a ton of bow hunting too in my life, and a ton of bow hunting backpack bow hunts. I've never had to bring a backup bow or never needed one. But if you guys you guys sound like you may not shoot the same draw length. I mean, leaving one at base camp would be something to consider. Yeah. But you're going to be going for so long, and you got so much invested. I would probably bring a backup bow and leave it at base camp. They'll fly it in if there's a problem with your current setup.
Gotcha.
We have planned to do that, and we have had to use backups on trips, and it's boy, it sure isn't fun to spend the amount of money that these trips cost and time away from family and work, and to not have your weapon.
Absolutely.
But,
and they'll fly it in if you have a problem. They're used in really rough, rugged terrain. It would be easy to slip and fall and tear a cable or destroy a bow. So I'd absolutely bring one.
It's happened. So, do you? How much ammo do you take? And I mean,
for your hunt, I would for the sheep portion of your hunt, you gotta think every missed shot's arrow's gone. I mean, you're not going to recover arrows that aren't shattered in the rocks. So just depends how comfortable you are with your shooting and how much how many arrows you want to take as backup. But I would bring an additional half a dozen arrows at least besides what's in your quiver.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Jay knows I like to do a lot of shooting, and I'm a fan of having a lot of arrows. So
and that country's hard to just stump shoot and practice shoot in because it's a lot of rock and then moss over rocks. And so you can go through arrows up there stump shooting a lot. You have to really be careful about picking what you're going to shoot at. Okay. And also arrows disappear into that moss and you never see them again.
Yeah, I think that happened to us in Alaska a few times. We had to dig pretty deep to get them out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you guys have been there and done that, yeah.
Yeah. So then, just for other people that might listen to this, how much ammo do you take on a rifle hunt?
Oh, that's a good question. I usually bring a full box.
Okay.
On a trip.
You'll load the magazine and then take a box.
I'll load a magazine and bring a box.
Okay.
Last thing you want to do is run out of bullets. Or worry about your next shot.
Yeah.
It's overkill. I've never gone through a whole box, but I've had to I've had to use it at times. Like last year up in the Yukon, I shot 3 shots at my ram and realized on taking the third shot that my gun was shooting high, and I fell the night before coming in through a storm and some really tough terrain and put my scope into the rocks. So the next day we had to go re-sight the rifle in. I mean, I ended up going through a lot of rounds, and then Brendan used my gun to kill his ram. And it's good to have extra ammo. There's no reason.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I was kind of the same thing about having extra arrows too. If I did have an issue where I fell and I was concerned about the bow being still zeroed, I could at least I could sacrifice a couple of arrows to find out where I was. So
you fall and put your whole quiver of arrows into some rocks and shatter them. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time it's happened.
Yeah.
It happened. Yeah, the extra release thing is always interesting topic. Brad carries an extra release in his pack. I always just leave an extra release at a base camp. But I guess I've always thought there's so many single point of failures on my bow, like the rest or the sight or the string or the cable or anything. Any one of those things fails, the whole system's bunk anyway. So, but I definitely was going to have an extra release back at the base camp with my backup bow. But Brad usually carries an extra release.
I'd bring an extra release with you.
Yeah. Okay.
You're a long ways from base camp.
Yeah.
And it may be a day or 2 or 3 before they can actually get a plane in to drop one off.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, the weather may prohibit them flying in to drop one off.
100% you should bring an extra release in your pack.
Okay. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, I got to stalk a coos deer once in Arizona because Cody went to put his release on. It wasn't strapped to his bow anymore after we'd been hiking around all day. So, I guess
good lesson right there.
Yep.
Yeah. So let me switch gears. We're getting real close to being wrapped up here, guys, too, with our questions. But we were wondering, like, day hunting away from camp. Like, I think they said sometimes we may we'll set up camp and we will kind of day hunt away from it, come back to it. What do you typically take with you when you go out hunting, Jason, and have in your pack? I know you mentioned like your super down always goes with you. Obviously your first aid, emergency kit you'd have, rain gear.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to bring probably pretty much all your clothes except for maybe your backup. You have 145 zip tee and your extra pair of socks. Everything else will go into your pack because you just don't have that much extra. You need to have it with you. Yep. And then your lunch for the day, obviously, and that's kind of all you'll need to bring. Obviously, you fill up your water, etc. But Everything else will stay at camp, and then I take my lid off my pack on those day hunts, and just use the main bag. And the new packs have a lashing system that lets the top of the portion of the pack where the shroud is fold over and actually function more like a day pack for you.
Okay, gotcha.
And that way you don't have the lid flopping around with gear in the lid.
Yeah.
And making stocks is out of the way.
Yeah, okay. Gotcha. Good. Do you take something extra to eat just in case you get stuck out overnight?
I typically don't. I have not had to spend the night out, but I've walked all night and ran out of food. It just depends on how much you're worried about getting back to camp and having enough food.
Okay.
I usually don't, just because I've got every day planned out, and I've got enough in there to get me through 24 hours if I need to.
Okay, gotcha.
Cool. Jason, what about any other kind of just general tips or the stuff you'd recommend to people traveling? Maybe one of the questions I thought of was like any tips for like trophy care and getting your trophies and stuff home, and then or maybe like other tips on traveling in terms of like traveling up there or back or.
I mean, I always recommend traveling with your carry-on with all your optics, all your electronics, anything of value that'll be hard to replace. We recommend to our clients to travel north in gear that you could potentially hunt in if you had to, if they lost all your luggage. I mean, it's tough for a trip like what you guys are going to have all of it, but I'll travel in solid attack pants and guide jacket and bring some clothes that if for some reason your luggage has disappeared, is not going to be in for a period of time, at least you got something you can hunt in. I even will throw my boots in my carry-on as well.
Mm-hmm.
And if I've got boots, I've got optics. Obviously, if your bow shows up, it's different with a rifle hunt. You can always find a rifle to use. You can at least go hunting until your luggage shows up of some sort. We always recommend that. You really need to think about luggage weight, because you're going to be you'll fly to Edmonton, spend the night. You're going to fly to Norman Wells, spend the night. You're flying to base camp. You're on multiple airplanes to get there. And if you're overweight on any of your bags, that gets really expensive really quick.
Yep.
And then as far as handling the game on the way home, with Tavis's operation, they can send it to a taxidermist. Or if you're going to travel with your trophies home, you're going to have to end up shipping them and use a expediter to get it across the border. I believe they'll use Talon expediters to do it, and you can arrange that and set it up in town. You will have to bring your sheep in and all your animals into the Fish and Game office prior to catching your flight home. And Tavis will get information on that, and that's in Norman Wells, and they'll check in your game. They'll plug your RAM and measure it and take all the information off your sheep that they need to record, and then check your tags for export for your other animals you harvest.
Okay.
And that takes some time, so you need to have plenty of time when you go over there. Usually you'll have a day before you leave in Norman Wells, and that gives you plenty of time to go take care of all the game with the Fish and Game and get the exporting set up.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned weight, and traveling is an issue. Do you carry your backpack on with you, or do you pack it and then carry just like a little light carry-on backpack?
I carry on my backpack. I'll take the lid off and put it inside, and then I'll carry my 7200 as my carry-on. And I'll put my optics, my boots in it, and it'll fit in the overheads.
Okay.
If you don't overpack it.
Gotcha.
Don't overpack
you just put
it.
the essentials in it.
Yep.
I just cinch it all down so it doesn't look too big, so they don't try to stop you from bringing it on. But I've never, ever had an airline not let me carry it on.
Gotcha. Yeah. And waist belt stays attached to the pack.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, when you do that. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. What bag? What other bag do you carry your other gear in?
I'll use one of our for the big portion of my luggage. I use some sort of roller bag just because there's so much gear to get through the airport. Plus, you got your bow cases.
Yeah.
We're in development of a whole luggage system for expedition hunts that'll come out probably sometime next year. That has a full-blown dolly system where the bags get removed off that to get in the bush planes.
Nice.
But until that comes out, some sort of roller luggage that you can strap your bow cases to the top of and get through the airport, but that's not so big that you have one bag that weighs 80 pounds and becomes a really expensive bag to travel north with.
Yeah, yep, gotcha. Okay.
Jason Hairston, giving wives across the world gift ideas for their husbands.
And the KUIU gear bags are a great additional bag too, to throw gear in. As if you're not going to carry your backpack on the plane with you, sometimes I'll check my bag just because if I don't feel like carrying my backpack on, I'll throw it in a KUIU bag and check it, and then I'll bring a KUIU bag for my electronics and optics.
Okay.
That's nice about those. Is just they're impervious to weather.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. One of those bags would be nice for like putting together for our moose kit.
It would be, absolutely. And then you can take it in and drop it off. And it can sit out there, and you don't have to worry about the weather. Plus, you'll see when you get off the plane at base camp. I mean, the luggage you're going to throw out onto the gravel bar. It's going to sit there, and then it's going to get thrown in the back of a UTV, and then take it up to base camp, and then put out. I mean, if it's pouring down rain, your stuff will get wet inside of it. So this is nice stuff with your bags and why you created them.
Gotcha. Okay. Good. Cool.
Awesome.
It's good stuff.
We've run through all of our list of questions. I want to make sure I thank Jay and you for getting this together. Really appreciate you taking all this time. We've taken a lot of your time to ask a lot of questions, and just can't thank you enough for doing this.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I love doing this stuff. And just the biggest thing from now until the time you leave is train as much and as often as you possibly can. Don't get hurt doing it, but you cannot be in good enough shape for this trip coming up. And there's and mentally, it'll put you in a position of strength versus going in and thinking, God, I could have done more. I should have done more in training and fitness. And you start off doubting your ability in those mountains. If you come in really good shape, you dial in your kit, you spend the time to weigh things and put together the list like you guys are doing. The preparation for this hunt makes a big difference versus going in unsure for the first time, and you step off that plane and you go, oh my God, what did I get myself into? And I've seen it happen a lot.
Yeah.
And it's the guys that don't respect what they're doing and don't have a complete grasp of what they just signed themselves up for. And you see it every year in base camp. Guys are like, you just see this wide-eyed look of like, geez, I had no idea. And you guys have been there and done that, but I always try to tell our customers, preparation gets you mentally prepared for it and gets you confidence going in that you're set up and you've got exactly what you need. You're physically prepared, feet are in shape, you've got all the right gear and equipment, and it just lets you step off that bush plane with confidence. And it's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Awesome advice.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah.
The last piece of advice I'll leave you guys with too is walk at your own pace. A lot of guys will go, "Oh, I'm going to try to keep up with the guide." I could when I was younger. I can't anymore, and I will set a pace that I can walk all day, every day. And if the guide wants to go faster, the guide can go faster, and he'll keep you in sight and pace yourselves. This is a long adventure. And the last thing you want to do is bonk early in the trip and put yourself in a bad spot physically and mentally. And just always advise guys, go at a pace that you can walk all day. And don't try to keep up with the guides, because you probably can't. And they may not walk the same way you walk and travel that country the exact same way you want to travel it. So I just set my pace and stay on that, and it makes a big difference versus guys trying to keep up with the guides and hurting themselves doing it.
Since my guide's carrying the bear protection, I'm going to have a conversation with him about walking at my pace then.
Yeah, they will. I mean, they will, and you just got to set that pace and stay with it. And the other thing I try to do is I'm always finding ways to conserve energy until I need it. And if you just go all out all day every day, and then you spot a ram, you need to cover ground to get to him. You have nothing left. It's not a good spot to be in.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Well, man, Jay, thanks so much for setting this up, and Jason, thank you so much for taking the time to visit with Travis and I. This this has been so helpful for us, man. We really
Good.
appreciate it, and hope that you can bring the family to Texas sometime. And if you ever do, just consider y'all selves as our guests at the Caverns. We'd love to host y'all.
I'd love to see it. My kids would love to see it.
How old are your kids?
I have a son that'll be 10 in October. My daughter turns 8 in 2 weeks.
Okay, yeah, they would absolutely love it. We've got, in addition to the Caverns, we've got a giant ropes course and zip lines and maze. We got a lot of stuff that the kids their age would really enjoy. So
Got to come out sometime. I'd love to come out.
So seriously, you would be our guest, and then if y'all wanted to do some pig hunting while you were here, we've always got wild pigs on the ranch that need shooting, and we'd love to host you anytime.
And
we'll take you up on it.
When he says pigs, he's underplaying. He's downplaying pigs. They're everywhere. It was crazy.
I love hunting hogs with my bow. It's so fun.
They were everywhere.
I know California has plenty of them.
Well, guys, thanks, man. If you have any other questions, you need anything else from me between now and then, just don't hesitate to email or call, and I'm happy to make sure you guys are totally set up.
That's awesome, man. We sure appreciate it. Thank you, Jason.
Jay, thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure.
Yep, for sure, guys. Everybody, thanks. Wish the Weiss brothers the best on their hunt, and Jason, wish you the best on your stone sheep hunt coming up, and remind all the listeners out there to make sure they go check out KUIU.com and find where the KUIU mobile showroom sites are going to be all across the U.S. and get out there and get out to see the gear and touch it and feel it. And Jason, you can order the gear too right at the mobile showroom sites, correct?
Yep, and we give a promotional incentive to do so.
Okay.
And they'll be at their house that week.
Okay, sounds good, guys.
We have to talk about getting that truck to get down far enough south to San Antonio next year, Jason.
He's in San Antonio.
It's hitting Texas. I don't know if it's hitting. We're hitting San Antonio.
Well, let me see.
Yeah, I know. No. I think you're not quite that far south. I think you're getting to Dallas or Houston. I think, but.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, Lubbock, Dallas, and Houston. Well, guys, thanks a lot. Jason, thanks for your time, and just another case of customer service and working with your peeps. It's obvious that you care, and that's well noticed in the industry. So I appreciate that. And Travis and Brad, we'll catch you later. And thanks for preparing those questions, and good luck on your hunt. Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Jay.
Thanks, guys. Y'all have a great day.
Take care.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.